Hey, welcome to the Night Scientist. I'm so happy you're here with me today. There's something truly magical about taking a moment to slow down and explore the gentle mysteries that surround us every single day. You know, in our busy world, we often rush past the most beautiful phenomena without giving them a second thought. But today, we're going to do something different. We're going to pause, breathe, and dive deep into one of the most fundamental forces that shapes our existence. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're sitting in a comfortable chair by a window, maybe with a warm cup of tea in your hands. Outside, you can see the world slowly awakening or perhaps settling into the gentle embrace of evening. The light is changing, shifting in ways that speak to something deep within your soul. This isn't just any ordinary light we're talking about. This is the light that has been with humanity since the very beginning. The light that has shaped our stories, our bodies, and our understanding of time itself. Today, we are diving into the fascinating world of the story of daylight, how the sun shapes our time. This isn't just a scientific exploration, though we'll certainly uncover some remarkable facts along the way. This is a journey into the heart of what makes us human, what connects us to the cosmos, and what has been silently orchestrating the rhythm of life on Earth for billions of years. Think about it for a moment. Right now, as you're reading these words, your body is in constant conversation with the sun, even if you can't see it. Your cells are responding to the light around you, your brain is adjusting its chemistry, and your internal clock is quietly ticking away, synchronized with the great celestial dance happening 93 million miles away. Isn't that absolutely extraordinary? Let's begin our story at the most magical time of day, when the world holds its breath and waits for the sun to paint the sky with its first gentle brushstrokes. Dawn has captivated human hearts for millennia, and there's something profoundly moving about witnessing that moment when darkness gradually gives way to light. But what's happening during those precious minutes isn't just a beautiful spectacle. It's a complex symphony of biological and astronomical events that has been shaping life on Earth for over 3 billion years. Picture yourself standing in a meadow just before sunrise. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of dew grass. Around you, the world seems to be holding its breath, suspended in that liminal space between night and day. The horizon begins to glow with the faintest hint of light, and you can feel something stirring within you, something ancient and profound. This isn't just your imagination. This is your body responding to the approaching dawn in ways that connect you to every living thing that has ever existed on this planet. The first light of dawn triggers what scientists call the circadian awakening response. Your brain, which has been quietly monitoring the light levels around you even while you sleep, begins to orchestrate a cascade of biological changes. Your core body temperature starts to rise, your cortisol levels increase to give you energy for the day ahead, and your melatonin production tapers off. This isn't a modern phenomenon or something that developed with the advent of civilization. This is an ancient conversation between your body and the sun, a dialogue that has been happening for millions of years. Our ancestors understood this connection in ways that we're only beginning to rediscover. They didn't have the scientific language to describe what was happening, but they felt it in their bones. They knew that the sun wasn't just a source of light and warmth. It was the conductor of life's great orchestra, the force that determined when to wake, when to sleep, when to plant, and when to harvest. Their entire lives revolved around the sun's journey across the sky, and they structured their societies, their rituals, and their understanding of time around this celestial rhythm. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans have been tracking the sun's movements for at least 10,000 years. But the relationship likely goes back much further. Cave paintings from around the world show scenes of sunrise and sunset, often associated with spiritual or ceremonial significance. These weren't just artistic expressions. They were attempts to capture something profound about the human experience, something that connected our ancestors to the larger cosmos. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra was considered the most important deity, the creator of all life. The Egyptians believed that Ra traveled across the sky each day in his solar bark, bringing light and life to the world. At night, he would journey through the underworld, doing battle with the forces of darkness before emerging victorious. At dawn, this wasn't just mythology. It was a sophisticated understanding of the cyclical nature of light and dark, life and death, activity and rest. The ancient Greeks had their own sun god, Helios, who drove his chariot across the sky each day, pulled by 4 magnificent horses. But they also began to develop more scientific approaches to understanding the sun's behavior. Philosophers like Anaximander and Empedocles started to propose natural explanations for the sun's movements, laying the groundwork for the astronomical discoveries that would follow. What's remarkable is how consistent these sun-centered worldviews were across different cultures and continents. The Aztecs worshipped Tonatiuh, the sun god, and believed that human sacrifice was necessary to keep the sun moving across the sky. The Incas revered Inti, their sun god, and built incredible structures like Machu Picchu to honor the sun's journey. In Japan, the sun goddess Amaterasu was considered the most important deity, and the emperor was believed to be her direct descendant. These weren't primitive superstitions. They were sophisticated attempts to understand and honor the most important force in their lives. These ancient peoples recognized something that we've largely forgotten in our modern, artificially lit world, that the sun is not just a source of energy, but the fundamental organizing principle of life on Earth. Even today, as we understand the sun through the lens of modern science, there's still something deeply moving about witnessing a sunrise. There's a reason why people travel thousands of miles to watch the sun rise over places like Angkor, Wat, or Stonehenge. There's a reason why we use phrases like the dawn of a new day to describe new beginnings. The sun's daily resurrection speaks to something fundamental in the human experience, something that connects us to the rhythm of the cosmos. As we stand in that meadow, watching the sun paint the sky with shades of gold and rose, we're participating in a ritual that has been happening for billions of years. We're witnessing the same astronomical event that has greeted every living thing that has ever existed on this planet. In that moment, we're connected not just to the sun, but to the entire history of life on Earth. Now, let's turn our attention inward and explore one of the most fascinating aspects of our relationship with the sun, the internal clock that ticks away quietly inside each of us, synchronizing our bodies with the rhythm of day and night. This isn't a metaphorical clock. It's a very real, very sophisticated biological mechanism that governs everything from when we feel hungry to when we feel most alert, from when our body temperature peaks to when our immune system is most active. Scientists call this internal timekeeper, our circadian rhythm, from the Latin words circa meaning round and dies meaning day. It's a roughly 24-hour cycle that controls many of our most basic biological functions. And it's been evolving for billions of years. Every cell in your body contains a molecular clock, a complex network of genes and proteins that oscillates with remarkable precision. But here's the truly amazing part. This internal clock is constantly being adjusted. and fine-tuned by the light around you. Imagine your circadian rhythm as a master conductor leading an orchestra of biological processes. When everything is in harmony, when the conductor is keeping perfect time with the sun, the music of your body flows beautifully. You wake up feeling refreshed. You feel alert during the day. You get hungry at regular intervals, and you feel sleepy when it's time for bed. But when the conductor gets out of sync with the sun, when the rhythm is disrupted, the entire orchestra begins to play out of tune. The conductor of this biological orchestra is a tiny cluster of cells deep in your brain called the nucleus, or SCN. This remarkable structure, which is about the size of a grain of rice, contains approximately 20,000 neurons that work together to keep time. They receive information about light and darkness from specialized cells in your retina, and they use this information to synchronize your internal clock with the external world. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Your circadian rhythm isn't just a passive response to light and darkness. It's an active, predictive system that prepares your body for the changes that are coming. About an hour before you typically wake up, your SCN begins to orchestrate a cascade of changes that prepare your body for the day ahead. Your core body temperature starts to rise, your cortisol levels increase, and your blood pressure begins to climb. Your body is literally getting ready to wake up before you even open your eyes. This predictive capability evolved over millions of years as a survival advantage. Our ancestors who could anticipate the coming dawn, who could prepare their bodies for the activities of the day, had a better chance of survival than those who simply reacted to changes in light. They could forage more effectively, avoid predators more successfully, and coordinate their activities with others in their group. The influence of your circadian rhythm extends far beyond just sleep and wake cycles. It affects your metabolism, determining when your body is most efficient at processing food and when it's more likely to store fat. It influences your cardiovascular system, with heart attacks and strokes being more common at certain times of day. It affects your immune system, with some aspects of immunity being stronger during the day and others being more active at night. Even your cognitive abilities fluctuate according to your circadian rhythm. For most people, alertness peaks in the late morning and early evening, with a natural dip in the mid-afternoon. This isn't just about being tired from lunch. It's a fundamental aspect of how your brain is wired, a reflection of the ancient rhythm that has been shaping life on Earth. For billions of years, your circadian rhythm also affects your mood and emotional well-being. The timing of light exposure can influence the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which play crucial roles in feelings of happiness and well-being. This is why many people experience seasonal affective disorder during the winter months when daylight hours are shorter, and why light therapy can be so effective in treating certain types of depression. The precision of your internal clock is truly remarkable. In laboratory studies, when people are isolated from all external cues about time, their circadian rhythms continue to cycle with a period that's very close to 24 hours. This suggests that the clock is not just a response to the sun, but a fundamental property of life itself. It's as if every cell in your body contains a tiny piece of cosmic memory, a record of the billions of years that life has been synchronized with the rotation of the Earth. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of your circadian rhythm is how it connects you to the larger rhythms of the natural world. When you wake up naturally with the sunrise, when you feel most alert during the day and sleepy at night, you're participating in a rhythm that extends far beyond your individual existence. You're synchronized with the plants that open there, flowers at dawn, with the birds that sing their morning songs, with the countless other creatures that share this planet with you. This synchronization isn't just poetic. It's practical and essential for survival. In natural ecosystems, the timing of biological processes is crucial. Plants need to coordinate their flowering with the activity of their pollinators. Predators need to time their hunting with the behavior of their prey. Migrations need to be timed with seasonal changes in weather and food availability. Your circadian rhythm is part of this vast, interconnected web of temporal relationships that makes life on Earth possible. Modern life, with its artificial lighting and indoor environments, has largely disconnected us from these natural rhythms. We can work at any hour, eat at any time, and stay awake long into the night. But our bodies still remember the ancient rhythm. They still respond to the sun's light, still try to synchronize with the natural world. When we honor this rhythm, when we align our lives with the sun's journey across the sky, we often find that we feel better, sleep better, and function more effectively. Understanding your circadian rhythm isn't just about optimizing your sleep schedule or improving your productivity. It's about recognizing your place in the larger symphony of life on Earth. It's about understanding that you're not separate from the natural world, but deeply connected to it through invisible threads of light and time. Every sunrise that touches your skin, every sunset that triggers your body's preparation for sleep, is a reminder of this ancient connection. As we continue our gentle journey through the story of daylight, let's explore how our ancestors first began to measure and understand time itself. Long before clocks and calendars, before smartphones and atomic time, humans looked to the sky and found there the most reliable timekeeper of all, the sun. The story of how we learned to measure time is really the story of how we learned to read the language of light and shadow, to understand the subtle signs that the sun writes across the landscape each day. Picture yourself living thousands of years ago, when the world was vast and wild, and the rhythms of nature were the only rhythms that mattered. Your ancestors didn't wake up to the harsh sound of an alarm clock. Instead, they woke to the gentle whisper of dawn, to the gradual lightening of the sky that told them it was time to begin another day. They didn't check their phones to see what time it was. Instead, they looked to the sky, to the position of the sun, to the length and direction of the shadows around them. The sun was their timekeeper, their calendar, their compass, and their connection to the divine, all rolled into one magnificent celestial body. Every day, it traced its path across the sky with mathematical precision, rising in the east and setting in the west, casting shadows that moved like the hands of a giant clock across the landscape. Our ancestors learned to read these shadows, like we read the faces of our watches, understanding that the sun's position could tell them not just what time of day it was, but what season of the year, what direction they were facing, and even what latitude they were at on the Earth's surface. The earliest timekeepers weren't mechanical devices at all. They were natural phenomena that our ancestors observed and interpreted with remarkable sophistication. They noticed that the sun rose from slightly different positions throughout the year, that the length of daylight changed with the seasons, that certain stars appeared in the sky at predictable times. They learned to read the sky like a vast celestial book, filled with information about time and space and the rhythms of the natural world. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans have been tracking the sun's movements for at least 10,000 years, but the practice likely goes back much further. Some of the earliest known astronomical observations come from sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which dates back over 11,000 years. This ancient temple complex appears to have been aligned with specific celestial events, suggesting that even our earliest ancestors understood the importance of tracking the sun's journey across the sky. In ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the Sumerians developed one of the world's first sophisticated systems for measuring time. They divided the day into 24 hours, the hour into 60 minutes, and the minute into 60 seconds. This sexagesimal system, based on the number 60, reflected their understanding of the sun's movement across the sky and their observation that the sun appears to move through 360 degrees in a full day. The Babylonians, who inherited much of Sumerian knowledge, became master astronomers and astrologers. They created detailed records of celestial observations, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable accuracy. They developed the concept of the zodiac, dividing the sky into 12 sections based on the sun's apparent path through the stars over the course of a year. Their observations formed the foundation for much of our modern understanding of astronomy and timekeeping. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra was not just a religious figure, but a practical timekeeper. The Egyptians developed a calendar based on the sun's movement, with a year consisting of 365 days divided into 12 months of 30 days each, plus 5 extra days at the end of the year. They also created some of the world's first sundials, devices that use the sun's shadow to indicate the time of day with remarkable precision. The most famous of these early timekeeping devices is the Great Sundial of Karnak, which still stands today as a testament to the Egyptians' sophisticated understanding of solar movement. This massive stone structure, carved with intricate markings and calculations, could tell time to within a few minutes accuracy. It wasn't just a practical tool. It was a work of art, a religious symbol, and a demonstration of humanity's growing mastery over the mysteries of time. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about these early timekeepers is how they connected human activities to the natural rhythms of the sun. The Egyptian day was divided into periods based on the sun's position, with different activities scheduled for different times. Morning was for beginning new projects, midday for important work, afternoon for rest and reflection, and evening for community gatherings and storytelling. The Greeks took this understanding of solar timekeeping even further, developing sophisticated theories about the nature of time itself. Philosophers like Aristotle pondered whether time was a property of the universe or a construct of the human mind. They developed the concept of the gnomon, a vertical pole whose shadow could be used to measure time, and they created elaborate sundials that could not only tell time, but also track the seasons and predict celestial events. Greek astronomers, like Hipparchus, made incredibly precise observations of the sun's movement, discovering phenomena like the precession of the equinoxes and developing mathematical models that could predict solar eclipses and other celestial events. They understood that the sun wasn't just a source of light and heat, but a cosmic clock that governed the rhythms of the entire universe. The Romans, practical as always, took Greek astronomical knowledge and used it to create the most sophisticated timekeeping system the world had yet seen. They developed portable sundials that could be used anywhere in the empire, and they created elaborate water clocks that could measure time even when the sun wasn't visible. They established the concept of the hour as a fixed unit of time, rather than a variable period that changed with the seasons. But even with all these technological advances, the sun remained the ultimate timekeeper. Roman days still began at sunrise, and ended at sunset. The Roman calendar was based on the sun's annual journey through the sky. Roman festivals and ceremonies were timed to coincide with solar events like the solstices and equinoxes. The sun wasn't just a tool for measuring time, it was the source of time itself. In ancient China, the sun was equally important for timekeeping. Chinese astronomers developed incredibly sophisticated calendars based on solar observations, and they created some of the world's most beautiful and accurate sundials. The Chinese understood that time wasn't just about measuring hours and minutes. It was about understanding the deep rhythms of the universe, the flow of energy through the natural world, the connection between heaven and earth. The Mayans, on the other side of the world, developed their own sophisticated understanding of solar timekeeping. Their calendar system was based on careful observations of the sun's movement, and they could predict eclipses and other celestial events with remarkable accuracy. They built elaborate observatories, like the one at Chichen Itza, where the sun's light creates dramatic shadow displays on the equinoxes and solstices. What's remarkable about all these ancient timekeeping systems is how they recognized that time isn't just a mechanical phenomenon. It's a cosmic rhythm that connects all living things to the larger universe. The sun doesn't just provide light and heat. It provides the beat to which all life dances, the rhythm that organizes the entire symphony of existence on Earth. As our story of daylight continues to unfold, we come to one of humanity's most elegant and enduring inventions, the sundial. These beautiful devices represent something profound about our relationship with the sun. They're not just tools for telling time. They're sculptures of light and shadow, physical manifestations of the cosmic dance between earth and sun, and bridges between the ancient wisdom of our ancestors and our modern understanding of astronomy. Imagine standing in a garden on a bright sunny day, watching the shadow of a sundial's gnomon slowly creep across the numbered face. There's something almost magical about this simple phenomenon. The shadow moves with the steady, reliable rhythm of the Earth's rotation, marking the passage of time with elegant precision. No batteries, no electricity, no complex mechanisms, just the eternal dance of light and shadow that has been going on for billions of years. The beauty of a sundial lies in its simplicity and its connection to the fundamental forces that govern our universe. When you read the time on a sundial, you're directly observing the rotation of the Earth beneath your feet. You're seeing the sun's apparent movement across the sky translated into the language of shadow and light. You're participating in a conversation between the cosmic and the personal, between the vast scale of astronomical time and the intimate scale of human experience. The earliest sundials were probably nothing more than vertical sticks or stones that cast shadows on the ground. Our ancestors noticed that these shadows changed direction and length throughout the day, and they learned to use these changes to measure the passage of time. Archaeological evidence suggests that sundials have been used for at least 5,000 years, with examples found in ancient Egypt, Babylon, Greece, and China. But as our understanding of the sun's movement became more sophisticated, so did our sundials. Ancient craftsmen learned to adjust their designs for different latitudes, to account for the changing angle of the sun throughout the year, and to create increasingly accurate and beautiful timepieces. Some sundials were small and portable, designed to be carried by travelers. Others were massive architectural features, integrated into the design of temples and palaces. The sundial teaches us something profound about the nature of time itself. Unlike our modern clocks, which divide time into arbitrary, uniform units, Sundials reflect the natural rhythms of solar time. The hours on a sundial vary in length depending on the season, just as the length of daylight changes throughout the year. In summer, the daylight hours are longer, and in winter, they're shorter. This isn't a flaw in the sundial's design. It's a feature that connects us to the natural world and reminds us that time isn't just a human construct, but a cosmic phenomenon that we're part of. As we stand in that garden, watching the shadow move across the sundial's face, we're witnessing one of the most beautiful examples of how the sun shapes our understanding of time. We're seeing the marriage of art and science, of beauty and precision, of ancient wisdom and eternal truth. The sundial reminds us that time isn't something we can control or manipulate. It's something we must learn to read, to understand, and to live in harmony with. As we continue our peaceful journey through the story of daylight, let's step into the gentle embrace of morning light. There's something truly magical about those first moments when the sun begins to paint the world in soft, golden hues. If you've ever been awake early enough to witness the transition from night to day, you know that feeling of quiet reverence that settles over everything as darkness slowly gives way to light. The morning sun doesn't burst into our world with dramatic fanfare. Instead, it arrives like a gentle friend, knocking softly on the door of night, asking permission to enter. This gradual awakening isn't just beautiful to observe, it's a fundamental part of how our bodies and minds prepare for the day ahead. The quality of morning light is different from any other time of day, carrying with it a unique spectrum of colors and intensities that have shaped life on Earth for billions of years. When the sun sits low on the horizon during those early morning hours, its light must travel through more of Earth's atmosphere to reach us. This journey through miles of air acts like a natural filter, scattering away the harsh blue light and allowing the warmer, redder wavelengths to dominate. This is why morning light appears so soft and golden, casting everything in a warm, honey glow that feels almost therapeutic to our eyes. Scientists have discovered that this morning light plays a crucial role in setting our internal clocks for the day. Our bodies are incredibly sensitive to these subtle changes in light quality and intensity. When that gentle morning illumination enters our eyes, it sends a signal to a small cluster of cells in our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Think of this tiny structure as your body's master timekeeper, the conductor of an intricate biological orchestra that coordinates everything from hormone production to body temperature throughout the day. This morning light exposure triggers a cascade of biological events that prepare us for the active hours ahead. Cortisol levels begin to rise, giving us that natural energy boost we need to start the day. At the same time, the production of melatonin, our body's natural sleep hormone, begins to decrease. It's a beautifully orchestrated dance of chemistry and light that has been perfected over millions of years of evolution. But the morning sun's influence extends far beyond our individual biology. Throughout history, cultures around the world have recognized the special significance of dawn and morning light. Ancient Egyptians worshipped Ra, the sun god, believing that each sunrise represented his daily journey across the sky in his solar arc. They understood, in their own way, that the sun was the source of all life and energy on Earth. In many traditions, morning has been seen as a time of renewal and rebirth. The sun's return each day was never taken for granted by our ancestors. They understood that without this daily gift of light and warmth, life as they knew it would cease to exist. This reverence for the morning sun shaped their daily routines, their agricultural practices, and their spiritual beliefs. The gentle progression of morning light also creates a natural rhythm that our modern world often overlooks. In those quiet moments before the world fully awakens, when the light is soft and the air is still, there's an opportunity for reflection and preparation that our ancestors understood well. They didn't have artificial lighting to extend their days indefinitely, so they lived more closely in tune with these natural cycles of light and darkness. As the morning progresses and the sun climbs higher in the sky, the quality of light continues to change. The warm golden tones gradually give way to the brighter, more intense light of mid-morning. This progression isn't random. It's a carefully orchestrated symphony of electromagnetic radiation that has profound effects on everything, from the photosynthesis in plants to the behavior of animals and the daily rhythms of human society. Morning light also plays a crucial role in our ability to see and process the world around us. Our eyes are remarkably adaptable instruments, capable of functioning across an enormous range of light conditions, but they work most efficiently when light levels change gradually, as they do during the natural progression from dawn to full daylight. This gradual increase in illumination allows our visual systems to adjust smoothly, maintaining clear, comfortable vision throughout the morning hours. Long before GPS satellites circled our planet and smartphones could pinpoint our location to within a few feet, humans developed an intimate relationship with the sun that allowed them to navigate across vast oceans and trackless deserts. The story of solar navigation is one of humanity's most remarkable achievements, a testament to our ancestors' ability to read the subtle language of light and shadow that the sun writes across the sky each day. Imagine yourself standing on the deck of a Polynesian voyaging canoe, hundreds of miles from the nearest land, with nothing but endless ocean stretching to every horizon. No compass, no charts, no modern instruments of any kind. Yet the skilled navigator beside you knows exactly where you are and where you're heading, using nothing more than the position of the sun, the patterns of waves, and the subtle signs written in the sky. This isn't fantasy, it's a skill that Pacific Island peoples mastered thousands of years ago, enabling them to settle islands scattered across millions of square miles of ocean. The foundation of solar navigation rests on understanding the sun's predictable journey across the sky. Every day, our star rises in the east and sets in the west, but its exact path varies throughout the year in ways that, once understood, become as reliable as any modern navigation system. During the spring and fall equinoxes, the sun rises due east and sets due west, providing perfect directional reference points. But during summer, it rises northeast and sets northwest, while in winter, it rises southeast and sets southwest. These variations occur because Earth tilts on its axis as it orbits the sun, creating the seasons and causing the sun's apparent path across the sky to shift throughout the year. Ancient navigators learned to read these patterns like a celestial calendar, understanding not just where they were, but when they were in the yearly cycle. This knowledge was passed down through generations, often encoded in songs, stories, and oral traditions that preserved crucial navigational information in memorable, poetic forms. At midday, when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky, it provides another crucial piece of navigational information. In the northern hemisphere, the noon sun always lies due south, while in the southern hemisphere, it points due north. But the height of the sun at noon varies depending on your latitude, how far north or south you are from the equator. At the equator, the sun passes directly overhead twice a year, As you move toward the poles, the noon sun appears lower and lower in the sky. Skilled navigators learned to judge latitude by observing the sun's height at noon, sometimes using simple instruments made from sticks and strings to measure angles more precisely. They understood that if the noon sun appeared higher than expected, they had traveled toward the equator. If it appeared lower, they had moved away from it. This knowledge, combined with careful observation of the sun's rising and setting points, allowed them to maintain their course across thousands of miles of open ocean. The Vikings, those legendary seafarers of the North Atlantic, developed their own sophisticated solar navigation techniques. They used devices called sun compasses, circular wooden discs marked with directional indicators. A central gnomon, or pointer, cast a shadow that could be read against the markings to determine direction even on overcast days. Some researchers believe they may have also used special crystals called sunstones, which could reveal the sun's position even when it was hidden behind clouds by detecting the polarization. Patterns of scattered sunlight, but solar navigation wasn't just about finding direction. Experienced navigators could read the subtle signs that the sun's position and behavior revealed about weather patterns, seasonal changes, and even the presence of distant land. They noticed how the sun's heat created different air currents and cloud formations, how its light interacted with ocean swells to create telltale patterns, and how its rays could be reflected or refracted by distant islands or ice formations. The relationship between light and navigation goes deeper than just following the sun's position. Ancient navigators understood that different qualities of light could reveal important information about their surroundings. The color of the sky at dawn and dusk could predict weather changes. The way sunlight reflected off water could indicate the depth of the ocean beneath them. Even the behavior of seabirds and marine life changed in response to the sun's position and the quality of available light. Arab navigators of the Indian Ocean developed their own sophisticated techniques, creating detailed mental maps that combined solar observations with knowledge of seasonal wind patterns, star positions, and ocean currents. They understood that navigation was never just about one isolated technique, but rather about reading the interconnected patterns of the natural world. With the sun serving as the primary reference point around which all other observations were organized. Perhaps most remarkably, these ancient navigators achieved their feats without written records or mechanical instruments. Their knowledge was stored in memory, passed down through apprenticeships that could last decades. Master navigators would spend years teaching students to read the subtle signs of sun, sea, and sky, developing an almost supernatural sensitivity to the natural forces that governed movement across the Earth's surface. The precision of these ancient techniques is truly astounding. Polynesian navigators regularly made voyages of thousands of miles, arriving at tiny island destinations with remarkable accuracy. They could determine their position to within a few miles using nothing but careful observation of natural phenomena, primarily the sun's behavior throughout the day and across the seasons. This intimate knowledge of solar patterns also enabled ancient peoples to develop sophisticated calendar systems. By tracking the sun's changing position throughout the year, they could predict the optimal times for planting crops, harvesting food, or undertaking long journeys. The sun became not just a navigational tool, but a cosmic timekeeper that regulated the rhythm of human activities across diverse cultures and environments. Throughout human history, different cultures have developed unique and beautiful ways of understanding the relationship between daylight and time. These aren't just academic curiosities or historical footnotes. They represent profound insights into how light shapes human experience. Insights that our modern world, with its artificial illumination and climate-controlled environments, sometimes forgets. Let's take a gentle journey through some of these cultural perspectives, exploring how our ancestors understood the dance between light and time in ways that might surprise and inspire us. In the high mountains of Peru, the Inca civilization developed one of the most sophisticated understandings of solar timekeeping ever achieved. They called their empire Tawantinsuyu, meaning the four regions, and they organized their entire world around the sun's journey across the sky. But their relationship with daylight went far beyond practical timekeeping. It was spiritual, mathematical, and deeply integrated into every aspect of their society. The Inca understood that the sun's path across the sky changed throughout the year, and they built their capital city of Cusco as a massive solar observatory. Streets and buildings were aligned with the sun's position during important times of the year, creating a city that was essentially a three-dimensional calendar. During the winter solstice, the sun would shine directly down certain streets, while during the summer solstice, it would illuminate different pathways and ceremonial spaces. They developed a concept called SEC lines, imaginary lines radiating out from the center of Cusco that aligned with various celestial events and connected sacred sites throughout their empire. These lines weren't just abstract concepts. They were practical tools for organizing time, space, and social relationships. Different families and communities were responsible for maintaining shrines along specific sec lines, creating a social calendar that rotated throughout the year based on the sun's position. What's particularly beautiful about the Inca approach is how they understood that time isn't uniform or mechanical, but rather flows differently depending on the season, the location, and the community's needs. They had no need for precise minute-by-minute scheduling, because their entire society moved in harmony with the natural rhythms of daylight and darkness. Work, rest, celebration, and contemplation all followed patterns that were ultimately governed by the sun's journey across their mountain skies. Halfway around the world, in the ancient kingdoms of Southeast Asia, Buddhist and Hindu cultures developed their own sophisticated understanding of how light and time interconnect. They recognized that consciousness itself seems to change throughout the day in response to different qualities of light. The soft, contemplative light of dawn was considered ideal for meditation and spiritual practice. The bright, energetic light of midday was associated with active work and learning. The gentle, reflective light of evening was seen as perfect for community gathering and storytelling. These cultures developed elaborate temple complexes that were designed to capture and channel different qualities of daylight throughout the day. At Angkor Wat in Cambodia, for example, the entire structure is oriented so that during the spring equinox, the sun rises directly above the central tower when viewed from the western entrance. But this isn't just a clever architectural trick. It represents a deep understanding of how sacred spaces can be designed to harmonize human activity with cosmic rhythms. The builders of these temples understood that light isn't just illumination. It's a form of energy that can influence mood, consciousness, and spiritual awareness. They created spaces where different qualities of light could be experienced throughout the day, supporting different types of human activity and contemplation. Morning light would flood certain courtyards, perfect for quiet reflection. Afternoon light would illuminate teaching areas and libraries. Evening light would warm gathering spaces where communities would come together to share meals and stories. In ancient Egypt, The relationship between daylight and time took on cosmic significance. The Egyptians understood that the sun's daily journey across the sky was a mirror of larger cosmic cycles, the journey of the soul through life, death, and rebirth. They organized their entire civilization around this understanding, creating a society that lived in conscious harmony with solar rhythms. Egyptian priests were skilled astronomers who tracked the sun's position with remarkable precision. They knew that the solar year was approximately 365 and 1/4 days long, and they developed calendar systems that could predict eclipses, seasonal floods, and optimal times for various agricultural and religious activities. But their solar knowledge went beyond practical applications. It was integrated into their understanding of human nature and spiritual development. They believed that just as the sun died each evening and was reborn each morning, human beings went through similar cycles of death and renewal throughout their lives. The quality of light at different times of day was thought to support different aspects of human development. Dawn light was associated with new beginnings and fresh possibilities. Noon light represented the full flowering of human capabilities. Sunset light was connected with wisdom, reflection, and preparation for the next cycle of growth. Native American cultures across North America developed hundreds of different approaches to understanding the relationship between daylight and time, each adapted to specific environments and ways of life. Plains tribes who followed the great buffalo herds developed portable methods for tracking solar time that could be used while traveling across vast grasslands. Forest peoples created sophisticated systems for reading the subtle changes in light quality that filtered through dense tree canopies. Desert cultures learned to navigate by the precise shadows cast by rock formations and the way heat shimmer distorted distant objects at different times of day. What united many of these diverse approaches was an understanding that time is not separate from place, that the rhythm of days and seasons is intimately connected to the specific landscape where a community lives. A winter day in the Arctic tundra has a completely different quality and rhythm than a winter day in the Sonoran Desert. Indigenous cultures developed temporal awareness that was finely tuned to these local variations, creating rich, place-based understandings of how light and time interweave. Many Native American languages don't have words that correspond exactly to our modern concept of abstract, measured time. Instead, they have elaborate vocabularies for describing different qualities of light, different types of days, and different seasonal moments. They might have separate words for the particular quality of light that occurs just after a thunderstorm, or the specific type of morning that's perfect for gathering certain medicinal plants, or the exact moment in autumn when the light begins to change in preparation for winter. This linguistic richness reflects a sophisticated understanding that our modern world often overlooks, that time is not a uniform, mechanical flow, but rather a complex, multi-dimensional experience that changes based on location, season, weather, and countless other factors. These cultures developed ways of living that honored this complexity, creating communities that could respond fluidly to the subtle rhythms of their local environments. As we delve deeper into our gentle exploration of how daylight shapes our understanding of time, let's pause to consider the remarkable science behind the interplay of light and shadow. There's something almost magical about the way shadows move across a sundial, marking the passage of hours with silent precision. But this magic is actually the result of precise physical laws that govern how light travels through space and interacts with objects in its path. Light itself is one of the most mysterious and beautiful phenomena in the universe. It behaves sometimes like a wave, rippling through space like patterns on a pond, and sometimes like a stream of tiny particles called photons, each carrying a small packet of energy. This dual nature of light puzzled scientists for centuries, and in many ways it still fills us with wonder today. When we see a shadow, we're witnessing the result of countless photons traveling in straight lines from the sun, some being blocked by objects while others continue on their journey to reach our eyes. The sun produces light through nuclear fusion, a process that occurs deep in its core, where temperatures reach millions of degrees. Hydrogen atoms combine to form helium, releasing tremendous amounts of energy in the process. This energy begins as gamma rays, but as it travels from the sun's core to its surface, a journey that can take thousands of years, it gradually transforms into the gentler, visible light that we see and feel each day. When this sunlight reaches Earth, traveling at the incredible speed of 186,000 miles per second, it interacts with our atmosphere in beautiful and complex ways. The molecules in our air scatter some wavelengths of light more than others, which is why our sky appears blue during the day and why sunsets paint the sky in brilliant reds and oranges. This same scattering effect influences the quality of shadows throughout the day, making them sharp and dark at noon when the sun is high, and soft and diffuse during the golden hours of dawn and dusk. The study of shadows has revealed fundamental truths about our planet and our place in the cosmos. Ancient Greek mathematician Eratosthenes used shadows to calculate the circumference of the Earth over 2,000 years ago. He noticed that at noon on the summer solstice, the sun shone directly down a deep well in the city of Syene, casting no shadow at all. But at the same time, in Alexandria, several hundred miles to the north, vertical objects cast distinct shadows. By measuring the angle of these shadows and knowing the distance between the two cities, he was able to calculate that the Earth was approximately 25,000 miles, around remarkably close to the actual measurement of 24,901 miles. This elegant use of shadow and geometry demonstrates how light can be used as a tool for understanding our world. Every shadow tells a story about the position of the sun, the time of day, the season of the year, and even our location on the planet. Ancient astronomers learned to read these stories with incredible precision, using nothing more than careful observation and mathematical reasoning. The behavior of shadows also reveals the three-dimensional structure of objects and landscapes. When light strikes a curved surface, it creates gradual transitions from bright to dark that our brains interpret as roundness and volume. When it encounters sharp edges, it creates distinct boundaries between light and shadow that help us perceive the shapes and positions of objects around us. This interplay between light and shadow is fundamental to human vision and has influenced art, architecture, and design throughout history. Different qualities of light create different types of shadows, each with its own character and beauty. The harsh, direct light of midday creates sharp, well-defined shadows with distinct edges. These shadows can be dramatic and striking, but they can also be uncomfortable to human eyes, which is why many cultures traditionally took rest during the hottest, brightest part of the day. The soft, diffused light of an overcast day creates gentle shadows that seem to wrap around objects, revealing their form in subtle, pleasing ways. The angle of sunlight also dramatically affects the appearance and behavior of shadows. When the sun is low on the horizon, shadows become long and stretched, sometimes extending for hundreds of times the height of the objects that cast them. These long shadows can transform familiar landscapes into mysterious, almost otherworldly places where ordinary objects take on new shapes and significance. Photographers and artists have long treasured these golden hour shadows for their ability to reveal hidden beauty in everyday scenes. As the sun moves across the sky throughout the day, shadows rotate around the objects that cast them, creating a natural clock that has been used by humans for thousands of years. The precision of this shadow movement is remarkable. It's directly linked to the Earth's rotation, which is so consistent that atomic clocks, the most precise timekeeping devices ever created, are still calibrated against astronomical observations of the sun's apparent motion across the sky. The science of shadows also helps us understand weather patterns and climate. Meteorologists use the angle and intensity of sunlight to predict how air masses will heat and move throughout the day. The shadows cast by clouds create complex patterns of heating and cooling that drive wind systems and precipitation. Even the shadows cast by mountains and hills influence local weather patterns, creating microclimates that can vary dramatically over short distances. In our modern world, we often take the science of light and shadow for granted, but understanding these phenomena can deepen our appreciation for the natural world around us. When you notice how shadows change throughout the day, you're witnessing the same cosmic dance that has fascinated humans for millennia. You're seeing evidence of the Earth's rotation, the sun's nuclear fusion, the scattering of light by atmospheric molecules, and the fundamental laws of physics that govern how energy travels through space. This scientific understanding doesn't diminish the beauty and wonder of light and shadow. If anything, it enhances them. Knowing that the gentle morning light filtering through your window has traveled 93 million miles from a stellar furnace, that the shadow cast by a tree is actually the absence of billions of photons, that the changing angle of sunlight throughout the day reflects our planet's steady spin through space. All of this knowledge adds layers of meaning and connection to our daily experience of daylight. Among all the ways that humans have learned to measure time using daylight, few are as elegant and enduring as the sundial. These remarkable devices represent thousands of years of accumulated wisdom about the relationship between light, shadow, and the passage of time. They're simultaneously simple enough that a child can understand their basic principle, yet sophisticated enough that master craftsmen spent lifetimes perfecting their design and accuracy. The earliest sundials were probably just sticks pushed into the ground, with their shadows serving as crude indicators of the time of day. But even these simple shadow clocks revealed profound truths about our world. They showed that time is not abstract or uniform, but intimately connected to our planet's movement through space. They demonstrated that the length and direction of shadows change in predictable patterns that can be used to organize human activities and understand seasonal cycles. As civilizations developed more sophisticated understanding of astronomy and mathematics, sundials evolved into works of art and precision instruments. Ancient Egyptians created elaborate sundials carved from stone, with carefully calculated hour lines that could tell time with remarkable accuracy. These weren't just practical tools, they were expressions of humanity's growing understanding of cosmic order and our place within it. The Greeks and Romans elevated sundial design to new heights of mathematical sophistication. They understood that the sun's path across the sky changes throughout the year, and they developed techniques for creating sundials that could compensate for these seasonal variations. They realized that a sundial designed for one latitude wouldn't work accurately at a different latitude. So they began creating location-specific designs that took into account the unique solar geometry of each place. Greek mathematician Apollo of Perga, famous for his work on conic sections, applied his geometric insights to sundial design. He understood that the tip of a shadow traces different curved paths throughout the year, and he developed methods for calculating these curves with mathematical precision. His work laid the foundation for the sophisticated sundials that would later grace public squares, private gardens, and scientific observatories throughout the classical world. Roman sundials became increasingly elaborate and beautiful, often incorporating artistic elements that transformed functional timekeeping devices into decorative masterpieces. They understood that a sundial wasn't just a tool, but a statement about the owner's sophistication and understanding of natural philosophy. Wealthy Romans would commission sundials that incorporated zodiacal symbols, planetary alignments, and other astronomical features that connected daily timekeeping to broader cosmic patterns. During the Islamic Golden Age, Arab and Persian astronomers made significant advances in sundial design and theory. They developed portable sundials that could be used by travelers and merchants, creating ingenious folding designs that could be adjusted for different latitudes. They also created universal sundials that could work at any location on Earth, using complex mathematical projections that transformed the three-dimensional movement of shadows into two-dimensional patterns that could be read like a map. Islamic scholars also recognized that sundials could serve as teaching tools for understanding astronomy and mathematics. They created elaborate sundials that showed not just the time of day, but also the direction of Mecca for prayer, the times of sunrise and sunset throughout the year, and the positions of stars and planets. These devices became centerpieces of madrasas and observatories, helping students develop intuitive understanding of celestial mechanics. Medieval European sundials reflected the religious and philosophical concerns of their time. Monastery sundials often included Latin inscriptions reminding viewers of the fleeting nature of time and the importance of spiritual preparation. Tempus Fugit time flies became a common sundial motto, along with more elaborate verses about the relationship between earthly time and eternal salvation. These devices served not just as clocks, but as meditation aids that connected daily timekeeping to deeper spiritual concerns. The Renaissance brought new levels of artistic sophistication to sundial design. Master craftsmen created sundials that were simultaneously precise scientific instruments and beautiful works of art. They experimented with different materials, bronze, marble, wood, and even precious metals, creating sundials that could serve as status symbols while maintaining their practical function. Renaissance sundials also reflected the period's renewed interest in classical learning and scientific observation. Astronomers like Tycho Brahe created massive sundials that could measure time to within minutes, using them to make precise observations of planetary movements and stellar positions. These instruments helped lay the groundwork for the scientific revolution that would transform human understanding of the cosmos. Perhaps most remarkably, sundials revealed that time itself is more complex and variable than our modern mechanical clocks might suggest. A sundial shows apparent solar time, time as measured by the actual position of the sun in the sky. But because Earth's orbit is elliptical rather than circular, and because our planet's axis is tilted, the sun doesn't move across the sky at a perfectly uniform rate throughout the year. Sometimes solar days are slightly longer than 24 hours, and sometimes they're slightly shorter. This variation, known as the equation of time, can cause a sundial to be as much as 16 minutes fast or slow compared to a mechanical clock at different times of the year. Far from being a flaw in sundial design, this reveals something profound about the nature of time itself. Our standardized, mechanical time is actually an artificial average that smooths out the natural variations in Earth's rotation and orbit. Sundials show us time as it actually is, not as we've chosen to measure it for convenience. Modern sundials continue to fascinate both scientists and artists. Contemporary designers create sundials that incorporate cutting-edge materials and mathematical insights, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with shadow-based timekeeping. Some modern sundials can tell time too within seconds, while others create beautiful patterns of light and shadow that change throughout the day and seasons. Digital sundials, a seemingly contradictory concept, use precisely calculated arrays of holes or slots to create shadows that form numerical displays. These devices demonstrate that even in our digital age, there's still room for innovation in the ancient art of reading time from shadows. They bridge the gap between traditional craftsmanship and modern technology, showing that the fundamental principles of sundial design remain relevant and inspiring. The enduring appeal of sundials lies not just in their practical function, but in their ability to connect us to fundamental cosmic rhythms. When you read time from a sundial, you're not just checking a clock, you're participating in an ancient dialogue between human consciousness and celestial mechanics. You're reading time as written by the sun itself, inscribed in shadow and light across the face of the earth. As our gentle journey through the story of daylight continues, we find ourselves approaching that magnificent moment when the sun reaches its highest throne in the sky. There's something almost magical about midday, isn't there? It's as if the entire world pauses for just a moment to acknowledge the sun's supreme reign over our daily lives. The shadows grow short and sharp, like timid creatures hiding directly beneath the objects that cast them, and the light becomes so pure, so direct, that it seems to wash away all the soft mysteries of morning. Imagine, if you will, standing in an open field at precisely noon on a clear day. The sun hangs directly overhead like a celestial crown, and you might notice something quite remarkably. Your shadow has nearly disappeared. It's tucked right beneath your feet, as small and compact as it will ever be during the daylight hours. This isn't just a curious trick of light and geometry. It's been one of humanity's most reliable ways of marking the passage of time for thousands of years, long before we had digital clocks ticking away on our phones and computers. Before mechanical timepieces chimed in town squares, our ancestors looked to this daily dance of shadows to organize their lives. They understood something profound about the relationship between the sun's position and time itself, something that connected them intimately to the cosmic rhythms that govern our planet. The beauty of midday lies not just in its brilliance, but in its predictability. While sunrise and sunset shift dramatically with the seasons, moving along the horizon like a slow pendulum throughout the year, the moment of solar noon when the sun reaches its highest point remains remarkably consistent in its timing. Oh, it shifts slightly due to the Earth's slightly elliptical orbit and the tilt of our planet. But these variations follow patterns so regular that they've been mapped and predicted with extraordinary precision. Think about how remarkable this is. Every single day, without fail, our local star climbs to its zenith and casts the shortest shadows possible. This moment divides our day into two equal halves, the ascending morning and the descending afternoon. It's nature's way of giving us a reliable midpoint, a cosmic noon bell that rings silently across the entire face of the earth, though at different times, depending on where we happen to find ourselves on this spinning globe. But the story of midday goes far deeper than simply marking time. The intensity of light at solar noon carries with it a particular quality that affects everything from the color of the sky to the behavior of plants and animals. When the sun is directly overhead, its light travels through the least amount of atmosphere possible to reach us. This means the light is less scattered, less filtered, and more intensely white than at any other time of day. You've probably noticed how the world looks different at noon. Colors appear more vivid, more saturated. The sky might seem less blue, and more of that brilliant, almost white blue that makes you squint even when you're not looking directly upward. This is because the sun's rays are taking the most direct path possible through our atmosphere, encountering fewer air molecules and particles that would otherwise scatter and tint the light. Plants, those patient solar collectors that they are, have evolved to make the most of this midday intensity. Many flowers track the sun's movement across the sky, turning their faces to follow the light throughout the day, a behavior called heliotropism. But at noon, when the sun is directly overhead, these solar followers often pause, their petals spread wide to capture as much of that pure, unfiltered energy as possible. Animals, too, respond to the rhythm of midday. In many parts of the world, the heat and intensity of the noon sun drives creatures to seek shade and rest. This is the time of the siesta, not just in human cultures, but throughout the natural world. Birds often become quieter, mammals seek shelter, and even insects may reduce their activity during the most intense heat of the day. Now, let's step back in time and imagine ourselves in the sandaled feet of an ancient astronomer, standing in the courtyard of a temple or palace thousands of years ago. In your hand, you hold no clock, no timepiece of any kind. Yet you know with remarkable precision what time it is, and you can predict with confidence what time it will be later in the day. Your secret, you're reading the shadows. The sundial, that elegant marriage of astronomy and craftsmanship, represents one of humanity's earliest and most enduring methods of timekeeping. But calling it simply a method doesn't do justice to the profound understanding of celestial mechanics that went into creating these instruments. A sundial is really a three-dimensional representation of time itself, a physical manifestation of our planet's relationship with the sun. Picture the simplest sundial you can imagine, perhaps just a stick or rod planted vertically in the ground. The Greeks called this a gnomon, meaning one who knows or indicator. As the sun moves across the sky, this humble stick casts a shadow that sweeps around it like the hand of a clock. But unlike the uniform ticking of a modern timepiece, this shadow moves with the steady, predictable rhythm of celestial mechanics. The shadow is shortest at solar noon, when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky. From that moment, it begins to lengthen again, sweeping eastward as the sun travels westward toward evening. But here's where the ancient observers made a remarkable discovery. The length and direction of this shadow didn't just tell them the time of day, it also revealed the season of the year. In summer, when the sun climbs high in the sky, the noon shadow is remarkably short. In winter, when the sun's path is lower, that same noon shadow stretches much longer. This wasn't just a curiosity to ancient peoples. It was vital information for agriculture, religious observances, and daily life. They could literally see time passing, not just in hours, but in seasons, all written in the language of light and shadow. The sophistication of sundial design evolved over centuries, becoming increasingly elegant and precise. The Egyptians created elaborate sundials with carefully calculated hour markings. The Greeks developed the theory behind sundial construction, understanding the mathematical relationships between the sun's position, the Earth's rotation, and the geometry of shadows. The Romans mass-produced portable sundials, carrying accurate timekeeping throughout their empire. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of sundial design is how each one is unique to its specific location on Earth. A sundial created for use in Rome won't keep accurate time in London or Cairo. This is because the sun's path across the sky, what astronomers call the analemma, varies depending on your latitude. The further north or south you are from the equator, the different the sun's daily and seasonal movements appear. Creating an accurate sundial for a specific location requires understanding not just the basics of shadow casting, but the complex relationship between the Earth's tilt, its orbit around the sun, and your precise position on the globe. Ancient sundial makers were, in essence, practical astronomers who could translate the grand motions of celestial bodies into useful, everyday timekeeping tools. Consider the ingenuity required to create a sundial that accounts for the equation of time, the fact that solar days aren't exactly 24 hours long due to the Earth's elliptical orbit and axial tilt. The most sophisticated sundials included correction tables or mechanical adjustments to account for these variations, allowing them to stay accurate throughout the year. Some sundials were works of art as much as instruments of science. Garden sundials became focal points of landscape design, their gnomons casting shadows across beautifully carved stone faces, marked with hour lines and decorated with celestial motifs. Portable sundials were crafted from precious metals and fitted into elegant cases, becoming treasured possessions that combined utility with beauty. The tradition of sundial making never completely disappeared, even after mechanical clocks became common. There's something deeply satisfying about reading time directly from the sun, about maintaining that ancient connection between human awareness and cosmic rhythm. Modern sundials continue to grace gardens and public spaces, serving not just as timepieces, but as reminders of our relationship with the celestial dance that governs our days. Standing beside a sundial on a sunny day, watching its shadow creep slowly across the marked hours, you're participating in the same act of observation that connected our ancestors to their cosmic environment. You're reading time in its most fundamental form, not as an abstract concept measured by oscillating crystals or swinging pendulums, but as the direct result of our planet's rotation beneath the steady light of our star dot. As we continue our gentle exploration of how the sun shapes our understanding of time, we must turn our attention to one of the most profound and beautiful cycles in our earthly experience, the changing of the seasons. This isn't simply about weather patterns or the blooming and falling of leaves, though those are certainly part of the story. The seasons represent something much more fundamental. They're the visible evidence of our planet's elegant dance around the sun, a dance that takes exactly 1 year to complete and gives rhythm to the longest measures of time we experience in our daily lives. Imagine, if you will, that you could step outside of time and space and observe our Earth from a distance as it orbits the sun. What you would see might surprise you. Our planet doesn't travel around the sun standing upright like a spinning top on a table. Instead, Earth is tilted at an angle of about 23.5 degrees, leaning into its orbit like a graceful dancer executing a slow, year-long pirouette. This tilt, this gentle lean of our world, is the choreographer of the seasons. As Earth moves along its orbital path, sometimes the northern hemisphere leans toward the sun, and sometimes it leans away. When your part of the world is tilted toward the sunlight strikes more directly, the days grow longer, and you experience summer. When it's tilted away, the light arrives more obliquely, the days shorten, and winter settles over the landscape. But here's where the story becomes even more beautiful. The changing angle of sunlight doesn't just affect temperature and day length. It fundamentally alters the quality of light itself throughout the year. In summer, when the sun climbs high in the sky, its light travels through less atmosphere to reach us. The light is more intense, more direct, with a quality that seems almost white-hot at midday. In winter, the sun's lower path means its light must travel through more air, more particles, more of the Earth's atmospheric blanket. This journey softens the light, giving it those golden amber qualities that make winter sunlight seem so different from its summer counterpart. Ancient peoples understood this cycle intimately, not through textbooks or scientific explanations, but through daily observation and lived experience. They watched the sun's path across the sky change throughout the year, noticed how the point of sunrise and sunset shifted along the horizon like a slow pendulum, and marked the progression of seasons by the sun's behavior just as much as by changes in weather or plant life. The summer solstice, that moment when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky, was a time of celebration in cultures around the world, not just because it marked the longest day, but because it represented the sun at its most powerful, most direct, most life-giving. At noon on the summer solstice, the sun casts the shortest shadows of the entire year. In some places near the Tropic of Cancer, objects cast no shadows at all. The sun stands directly overhead, as close to straight above as it will ever appear. Conversely, the winter solstice marked the sun's most oblique angle, its shortest day, its longest shadows. But rather than being a time of despair, many cultures celebrated the winter solstice as a turning point, a moment when the sun began its slow return toward summer, when the days would start growing longer again. It was a celebration of the promise that light would return, that the cycle would continue its eternal rhythm. The equinoxes, those two moments each year when day and night balance in perfect equality, represented the sun's crossing of the celestial equator. At these times, the sun rises due east and sets due west everywhere on Earth. The light falls on our planet with geometric precision, creating a moment of perfect balance between light and darkness, summer and winter, growth and dormancy. These seasonal rhythms didn't just affect human awareness of time, they shaped entire civilizations. Agricultural societies planned their lives around the sun's annual journey, knowing when to plant and when to harvest based on the changing quality and duration of daylight. Religious calendars often aligned with solar events, marking sacred festivals at the solstices and equinoxes. Even today, many of our most important celebrations echo these ancient solar observances. The seasonal cycle also reveals something profound about the nature of time itself. Unlike the daily rhythm of sunrise and sunset, which we can observe and experience directly, the progression of seasons requires a longer perspective. You have to pay attention over weeks and months to notice how the sun's path is gradually shifting, how the quality of light is slowly changing, how the balance between day and night is incrementally adjusting. This longer view of time connected our ancestors to cycles much grander than their individual lives. A person might witness 70 or 80 seasonal cycles in their lifetime, each one similar yet subtly different, each one part of a pattern that stretched far beyond any single human experience. The seasons taught patience, showed the value of long-term thinking, and provided a sense of continuity that linked each generation to those that came before and those that would follow in our modern world. With artificial lighting and climate environments, we sometimes lose touch with these seasonal rhythms, but they continue their ancient dance whether we notice or not. The sun still traces its yearly path across the sky, still casts long shadows in winter and short ones in summer, still marks the turning of the great wheel of seasons with the same precision it has maintained for billions of years now. As our journey through the story of daylight deepens, we come to perhaps the most fascinating chapter of all, the discovery of how light itself shapes not just our perception of time, but the very functioning of our bodies and minds. This is where ancient wisdom about following the sun's rhythm meets modern science, where the gentle observations of our ancestors find validation in the laboratories and research centers of today. Imagine for a moment that you could shrink down to microscopic size and journey inside your own body, traveling through your bloodstream and nervous system. What you would discover might amaze you. Deep within your brain, tucked behind your eyes, in a region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, lies what scientists have come to call your master clock, a cluster of about 20,000 neurons that keeps time with remarkable precision. This biological timekeeper doesn't tick like a mechanical clock or pulse like a digital display. Instead, it orchestrates a complex symphony of chemical and electrical rhythms that ebb and flow throughout your body over the course of each day. These rhythms, called circadian rhythms from the Latin words for about a day, govern everything from your sleep-wake cycle to your body temperature, hormone production, and even the activity of your immune system. But here's the truly remarkable part. This internal clock doesn't run independently. It's constantly being adjusted, fine-tuned, and synchronized by one primary signal light. Not just any light, but specifically the blue wavelengths of light that are most abundant in natural daylight, especially during the bright hours of morning. And midday, when light enters your eyes, some of it takes a special pathway that doesn't lead to the visual cortex where images are processed. Instead, these light signals travel directly to your biological clock, carrying information about the brightness and color of the light in your environment. This system allows your body to continuously adjust its internal rhythms to match the external cycle of day and night. During the bright light of day, especially during those intense midday hours we've been exploring, your biological clock receives strong signals that help maintain alertness, regulate body temperature, and coordinate the release of hormones like cortisol that help you feel awake and energetic. As evening approaches and natural light dims, your clock begins to shift gears, initiating the cascade of changes that prepare your body for sleep. One of the most important of these evening changes is the production of melatonin, often called the sleep hormone. As darkness falls, your pineal gland begins to release melatonin into your bloodstream, creating a gentle drowsiness that helps ease the transition from wakefulness to sleep. This melatonin production is exquisitely sensitive to light exposure. Even small amounts of bright light, especially blue light, can suppress its release and disrupt your sleep patterns. This light-sensitive system evolved over millions of years to keep our ancestors synchronized with the natural rhythm of day and night. Their bodies automatically adjusted to longer summer days and shorter winter nights, maintaining optimal health and alertness by staying attuned to the sun's changing patterns throughout the year. But the influence of light on our bodies goes far beyond sleep and wakefulness. Research has revealed that light exposure affects mood, cognitive function, metabolism, and even the functioning of our immune system. The bright light of day, particularly the intense blue wavelengths present at midday, can help alleviate depression, improve alertness, and enhance overall well-being. This is why light therapy has become an important treatment for various conditions, from seasonal affective disorder to certain sleep disorders. By exposing people to bright light at specific times of day, doctors can help reset disrupted circadian rhythms and restore healthy patterns of sleep, alertness, and mood. The timing of light exposure is just as important as its intensity. Morning light, especially the bright light of the hours following sunrise, helps to anchor your circadian rhythms and promotes alertness throughout the day. The intense light of midday can provide an additional boost, helping to maintain energy and mood during the afternoon hours. Evening light, particularly the blue wavelengths, can be disruptive if it occurs too late, potentially interfering with the natural transition to sleep. This understanding has profound implications for how we structure our daily lives. In our modern world, where we spend much of our time indoors under artificial lighting, we may not be receiving the bright light signals our biological clocks need to function optimally. Indoor lighting, even at its brightest, is typically much dimmer than natural daylight, and it often lacks the full spectrum of wavelengths that our circadian systems have evolved to recognize. At the same time, our evening environments are often flooded with artificial light from screens, lamps, and electronic devices, light that can confuse our biological clocks and disrupt the natural transition to sleep. This mismatch between our evolutionary heritage and our modern lifestyle may contribute to various health issues, from insomnia to mood disorders to metabolic problems. The solution isn't necessarily to abandon modern life and return to a purely natural light cycle, but rather to understand how we can work with our biology rather than against it. This might mean seeking out bright natural light during the day, especially during the morning and midday hours, while being more mindful about light exposure in the evening. Some people have begun to structure their days more consciously around these natural rhythms. They might take morning walks to expose themselves to early daylight, work near windows during the day to maintain connection with natural light changes, and dim artificial lights in the evening to support their body's preparation for sleep. The science of light and biology continues to reveal new connections between our health and our relationship with natural light patterns. Researchers are discovering links between circadian disruption and various diseases, from diabetes to cancer to cardiovascular disease. They're also finding that maintaining healthy light exposure patterns can improve everything from athletic performance to academic achievement to emotional well-being. As we delve deeper into the science of how light shapes our lives, we discover that the influence of daylight extends into the most intimate corners of our biology, orchestrating rhythms and processes that we're barely conscious of, but that are essential to our health and well-being. It's as if every cell in our body contains a tiny clock, all synchronized to the master timekeeper in our brain, all dancing to the rhythm of the sun's daily journey across the sky. Consider your liver, that remarkable organ that works tirelessly to process nutrients, filter toxins, and maintain the chemical balance of your body. You might think of the liver as operating continuously, but research has revealed that it actually follows a distinct circadian rhythm. During the day, when you're likely to be eating and active, your liver ramps up its production of enzymes needed to process glucose and metabolize food. At night, when you're sleeping and fasting, it shifts gears to focus more on detoxification and cellular repair. This rhythmic functioning isn't just a quirk of liver biology, it's an elegant adaptation. that maximizes efficiency by matching the organ's activity to your body's changing needs throughout the day. And this pattern is synchronized, ultimately, by the light signals that reach your biological clock and are then transmitted throughout your body via hormones and neural pathways. Your digestive system follows similar rhythms. The production of digestive enzymes, the secretion of stomach acid, the movement of food through your intestines, all of these processes wax and wane according to circadian patterns that anticipate when you're most likely to be eating. This is why eating at irregular times or eating large meals late at night when your digestive system is winding down can feel uncomfortable and may interfere with both digestion and sleep. Even your cardiovascular system dances to circadian rhythms. Your blood pressure typically rises during the morning hours as your body prepares for the day's activities, then gradually decreases in the evening as you prepare for rest. Your heart rate follows a similar pattern, and the risk of heart attacks and strokes varies significantly throughout the day, with peak risk occurring during the morning hours when blood pressure and heart rate are naturally rising. Your immune system too follows the rhythm of day and night. During the day, when you're more likely to encounter pathogens and potential threats, your immune system maintains a higher state of alertness. At night, during sleep, it shifts focus toward memory formation, not just the kind of memory we usually think about, but immunological memory, the process by which your immune system learns to recognize and respond to threats it has encountered. Before this is one reason why sleep is so crucial for immune function. When you don't get enough sleep, or when your sleep is disrupted by irregular light exposure, your immune system doesn't have the opportunity to properly consolidate its memories and maintain its defenses. You become more susceptible to infections and may recover more slowly from illness. The influence of circadian rhythms extends even to the level of individual genes. Researchers have discovered that a significant portion of our genetic material, perhaps as much as 10 to 15% of all our genes, follows circadian patterns of expression. This means that the same gene might be highly active during certain hours of the day and nearly silent during others, allowing cells to fine-tune their function according to the time of day demands they face. Temperature regulation provides another beautiful example of how our bodies follow the sun's rhythm. Your core body temperature isn't constant throughout the day, as you might expect. Instead, it follows a predictable pattern, typically reaching its lowest point in the early morning, hours before dawn, and its highest point in the late afternoon or early evening. This temperature rhythm is so reliable that it's sometimes used as a marker to assess the health of someone's circadian system. The timing of this temperature cycle is crucial for good sleep. The natural evening decline in body temperature is one of the signals that helps initiate sleepiness. This is why a warm bath before bedtime can be helpful for sleep, not because the warmth makes you sleepy, but because the rapid cooling that occurs when you get out of the bath mimics and enhances the natural temperature drop that should be occurring as your body prepares for sleep. Hormone production throughout your body follows elaborate circadian choreography. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone but more accurately described as the alertness hormone, surges in the early morning hours to help you wake up and face the day. Growth hormone is released primarily during deep sleep, when your body focuses on repair and restoration. Testosterone in men follows a daily rhythm, typically peaking in the morning hours. Women's reproductive hormones add another layer of complexity, following not only daily circadian rhythms, but also monthly cycles that can influence everything from sleep quality to mood to cognitive function. These rhythms interact with light exposure in complex ways, and disruptions to normal light-dark patterns can affect reproductive health and fertility. The precision of these biological rhythms is truly remarkable. Even when people are placed in environments without any time cues, no clocks, no windows, no contact with the outside world, their bodies continue to follow approximately 24-hour cycles. However, these free-running rhythms typically drift slightly from exactly 24 hours, which is why regular exposure to the natural light-dark cycle is necessary to keep our internal clocks properly synchronized. This internal timekeeping system represents millions of years of evolution, a gradual refinement of biological processes to match the predictable rhythm of Earth's rotation. Our ancestors, who were best able to synchronize their internal rhythms with the external cycle of day and night, were more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on the genetic foundations of our modern circadian systems. Understanding these hidden rhythms within our bodies gives us a new appreciation for the wisdom of traditional daily schedules that followed the sun's pattern. Rising with the dawn, being active during the bright hours of day, winding down as evening approaches, and sleeping during the dark hours. This isn't just cultural tradition, but a lifestyle that aligns with our deepest biological programming. In our modern world, we have the power to override these natural rhythms with artificial light, caffeine, irregular schedules, and various other interventions. But this power comes with a cost. When we consistently work against our circadian biology rather than with it, we may pay the price in terms of decreased energy, impaired immune function, mood problems, and increased risk of various chronic diseases. The good news is that our circadian systems are remarkably resilient and responsive. Even if your rhythms have become disrupted by modern lifestyle factors, they can often be restored by returning to more natural patterns of light exposure and daily activities. It's never too late to begin working with your biology rather than against it, to rediscover the gentle wisdom of aligning your life with the rhythm of daylight. This understanding opens up new possibilities for optimizing health and well-being through what scientists call circadian medicine, the practice of timing medical treatments, lifestyle interventions, and daily activities to work with rather than against our natural biological rhythms. It's a field that's still in its infancy, but it holds tremendous promise for helping us live healthier, more energetic, and more balanced lives. As we continue our exploration of how the sun shapes our understanding of time, this knowledge of our internal rhythms adds a deeply personal dimension to the story. We're not just external observers of the sun's daily and seasonal cycles, we're participants in those cycles, our very biology intertwined with the cosmic dance of light and darkness that has been playing out for billions of years. As the sun begins its slow descent from its midday throne, something magical happens to the world around us. The harsh, brilliant light that dominated the morning hours starts to soften, like a master painter gradually blending warmer hues into their canvas. This is the afternoon's gentle decline, a time when daylight begins its most beautiful transformation, teaching us about the poetry inherent in all endings. Imagine yourself sitting in a quiet garden. As the clock approaches 2 in the afternoon, the sun, no longer directly overhead, has begun its westward journey, and with each passing hour, its rays strike the earth at an increasingly shallow angle. This simple change in geometry creates a cascade of effects that touch everything from the color of light to the shadows it casts, from the temperature of the air to the rhythm of life itself. The science behind this transformation is as beautiful as the phenomenon itself. As the sun's angle decreases, its light must travel through increasingly more atmosphere to reach us. This longer journey through our planet's gaseous envelope acts like a natural filter, gradually removing the shorter, bluer wavelengths and allowing the longer, warmer wavelengths to dominate. It's as if nature is slowly turning down the brightness, while simultaneously warming the tone, creating conditions perfect for the magic that is yet to come. During these afternoon hours, plants respond to the changing quality of light in fascinating ways. Many flowers that opened fully to greet the morning sun begin to adjust their petals, some closing partially to protect their delicate reproductive organs from the still intense light, while others, like 4 o'clocks and evening primrose, begin preparing for their moment of glory as twilight approaches. Trees, too, respond to these subtle changes, with their leaves adjusting the angle of their surfaces to optimize photosynthesis. As the sun's position shifts, the afternoon light holds a special place in human consciousness because it represents transition. Unlike the awakening energy of morning or the brilliant power of midday, afternoon light speaks to us of gentle change, of time flowing like honey from a spoon. This is the light of contemplation, of reflection, of stories told on front porches, and wisdom shared over cups of tea. It's the light that painters have long sought to capture because it reveals the world not as it blazes in full glory, but as it exists in tender, thoughtful moments. In many cultures, the afternoon has been seen as a time for rest and introspection. The Spanish siesta, the Italian riposo, the Chinese afternoon tea traditional recognize that there is something in the quality of afternoon light that invites us to slow down, to pause, to let our minds wander and our souls catch up with our busy lives. This isn't mere cultural coincidence. It reflects a deep understanding of how light affects our internal rhythms. As the afternoon progresses, shadows begin to lengthen dramatically. A simple fence post that cast a short, dark shadow at noon might stretch its shadow to 10 times its height by 4 in the afternoon. These lengthening shadows create a sense of drama and depth in the landscape, turning ordinary scenes into compositions worthy of master photographers. The interplay between light and shadow becomes a dance, with every object creating its own choreography across the ground. The temperature of afternoon light is measured not just in degrees Kelvin, but in the warmth it brings to the human heart. Where morning light feels fresh and energizing, afternoon light feels nurturing and comforting. It's the light that streams through kitchen windows as families prepare evening meals, the light that illuminates children playing in backyards, the light that turns busy streets into scenes from a movie. This warmth isn't just perceived, it's scientifically measurable, as the afternoon sun's longer wavelengths carry more heat energy. Wildlife, too, responds to the changing quality of afternoon light. Many animals that were active in the cooler morning hours retreat to shade during the heat of the day, then become active again as the afternoon light softens. Birds adjust their singing patterns, with some species saving their most elaborate songs for the golden hours before sunset. Insects like bees modify their foraging behavior, with some flowers being more attractive to pollinators. During specific lighting conditions, the psychological effects of afternoon light have been studied extensively by researchers interested in seasonal affective disorder and circadian rhythms. They've found that the warm, angled light of afternoon can have a calming effect on the nervous system, reducing stress hormones and promoting the release of serotonin. This may explain why so many people report feeling more creative and contemplative during afternoon hours, and why afternoon naps, even brief ones, can be so restorative as we move deeper into the afternoon. The sun's angle continues to decrease, and the effects become more pronounced. By 3 or 4 o'clock, depending on the season and latitude, the light has taken on a distinctly golden quality that photographers call sweet light. This is light that flatters everything it touches, smoothing harsh edges, warming cool colors, and creating a sense of harmony in the visual world. The afternoon's gentle decline teaches us about the beauty of gradual change. Unlike the sudden darkness of an eclipse or the abrupt transition from night to day, the afternoon shows us how magnificent slow transformation can be. It's a daily reminder that endings don't have to be abrupt or harsh, that there can be grace and beauty in the process of letting go. Every afternoon, the sun demonstrates how to surrender its position of power with dignity and style. This is also the time when the first hints of what's to come begin to appear. If you look carefully at the western horizon during late afternoon, you might catch the faint suggestion of colors to come, the palest peach or the softest yellow that will later bloom into the full glory of sunset. It's as if the sky is whispering secrets about the spectacle it's preparing, giving those who pay attention a preview of the magic ahead. The quality of afternoon light changes dramatically with the seasons. In summer, when the sun rides high, even in afternoon, the light remains bright and warm well into the evening hours. But in winter, when the sun barely clears the horizon even at midday, the afternoon light takes on a different character, cooler, more ethereal, painting the world in subtle blues and silvers that speak of quiet beauty and peaceful rest. Geographic location also plays a crucial role in shaping afternoon light. Near the equator, where the sun's path is more vertical, the transition from bright midday to golden afternoon happens more quickly. But at higher latitudes, especially during certain seasons, the afternoon can stretch for hours, creating extended periods of that magical, angled illumination that photographers and nature lovers treasure. As the afternoon progresses toward its culmination, we begin to sense that something extraordinary is approaching. The light continues to warm and soften, shadows continue to lengthen, and the very air seems to hold its breath in anticipation. This is the prelude to one of nature's most spectacular daily performances, a time when the ordinary world prepares to be transformed into something magnificent. The afternoon's gentle decline is drawing to a close, and the stage is being set for the golden hour. There exists a time each day when the world transforms into something almost ethereal, when ordinary scenes become extraordinary, and when light itself seems to possess magical qualities. Photographers call it the golden hour, that precious period shortly before sunset when the sun hangs low in the sky and bathes everything in warm, honeyed light. But this phenomenon is so much more than a photographer's tool. It's a daily reminder of the profound beauty that surrounds us, a time when science and artistry merge in perfect harmony. The golden hour typically occurs during the hour before sunset, though its exact timing and duration depend on your location on Earth, the season, and atmospheric conditions. What makes this time so special lies in the physics of light and atmosphere. When the sun is low on the horizon, its light must travel through much more of our planet's atmosphere to reach us. This longer journey acts like a natural filter, scattering away the shorter blue wavelengths and allowing the longer red, orange, and yellow wavelengths to dominate. Imagine light as a vast orchestra, with each wavelength representing a different instrument. During midday, we hear the full symphonial colors of the spectrum playing together to create white light. But during the golden hour, the atmosphere becomes a selective conductor, gradually quieting the higher notes of blue and violet while allowing the warm, deep tones of red and gold to sing their most beautiful melodies. The result is light that seems to glow from within, transforming everything it touches. The quality of golden hour light is unlike any other time of day. It's soft and directional, creating gentle shadows that add depth and dimension rather than harsh contrasts. This is light that flatters everything. Human faces appear warmer and more radiant. Landscapes take on an almost dreamlike quality, and even the most mundane objects seem to possess an inner glow. Architecture becomes sculpture, water becomes liquid gold, and the air itself appears to shimmer with warmth. What's particularly fascinating about golden hour light is how it affects our perception of color. The warm illumination doesn't just add golden tones to everything. It actually enhances certain colors while muting others. Reds become richer and more vibrant. Oranges seem to pulse with life, and yellows take on an almost luminous quality. At the same time, blues and purples become deeper and more mysterious, creating a complementary contrast that pleases the human eye in ways that tap into our deepest aesthetic sensibilities. The phenomenon occurs twice daily, not just before sunset, but also shortly after sunrise. However, the evening golden hour often feels more magical to many people, perhaps because it represents the culmination of the day, a reward for the hours of activity and productivity. There's something deeply satisfying about watching the world transform as the day draws to a close, as if nature is offering a final gift before drawing the curtains of night. During the golden hour, the very air seems to change. The light becomes tangible, almost substantial, as if you could reach out and touch the golden rays streaming through trees or across water. This isn't just poetic imagination, there's actual science behind this perception. The angled light reveals particles in the air that are invisible during other times of day. Dust, pollen, water vapor, and other microscopic elements become illuminated, creating visible beams and shafts of light that add to the magical atmosphere. Plants and animals respond to golden hour light in remarkable ways. Many flowers that remain closed during the heat of the day begin to open during this time, as if they too are drawn to the gentle warmth of the angled sun. Evening blooming plants like 4 o'clocks and moonflowers prepare for their nocturnal display, while day blooming flowers often experience a final moment of glory as the golden light illuminates their petals from within. Birds are particularly active during the golden hour, and their behavior changes in response to the quality of light. Many species that were quiet during the afternoon heat begin to sing again, their songs seeming to harmonize with the visual symphony of color and light. Swallows and other insectivores become especially active as flying insects emerge to take advantage of the changing atmospheric conditions. The golden hour represents a transition time in the natural world, a period of renewed activity before the deep rest of night. The psychological effects of golden hour light are profound and well documented. Research has shown that exposure to warm, low and gold light can trigger the release of endorphins and serotonin, creating feelings of well-being and contentment. This may explain why so many people report feeling more peaceful and reflective during this time of day. The golden hour seems to slow down time itself, encouraging us to pause, breathe deeply, and appreciate the beauty that surrounds us. From a cultural perspective, the golden hour has inspired artists, poets, and storytellers throughout human history. This is the light of romance and reflection, of adventure and discovery. It's the light that illuminates the hero's journey in countless stories, the moment when ordinary characters are transformed by extraordinary circumstances. The golden hour speaks to something deep in the human psyche about transformation, beauty, and the possibility of magic in everyday life. The duration of the golden hour varies, dramatically depending on where you are on Earth, near the equator. Where the sun sets quickly and steeply, the golden hour might last only 30 to 40 minutes. But at higher latitudes, especially during certain seasons, this magical time can extend for hours. In extreme northern locations during summer, the sun barely sets at all, creating extended periods of golden light that can last throughout the entire evening. Weather conditions also play a crucial role in shaping the golden hour experience. Clear skies produce the classic golden light that photographers prize, but partially cloudy conditions can create even more dramatic effects. Clouds act like natural reflectors and diffusers, bouncing the golden light around the sky and creating complex patterns of illumination that change by the minute. Even stormy weather can create spectacular golden hour moments when breaks in the clouds allow shafts of light to pierce through, creating scenes of almost supernatural beauty. The golden hour also has practical implications that have shaped human activity throughout history. This was traditionally the time when outdoor work began to wind down, when animals were brought in from pasture, when families gathered for evening meals. The quality of light during this time is perfect for detailed work, bright enough to see clearly but soft enough to not cause eye strain. Many traditional crafts, from weaving to woodworking, were often practiced during these precious hours of perfect illumination. In our modern world, the golden hour offers a daily opportunity to reconnect with natural rhythms that our ancestors took for granted. In an age of artificial lighting and digital screens, this natural phenomenon reminds us of the subtle but profound ways that natural light affects our mood, our energy, and our perception of the world around us. Taking time to observe and appreciate the golden hour can be a form of meditation, a way of grounding ourselves in the natural world and finding peace in the beauty of light itself. As the golden hour reaches its peak, the transformation of the landscape becomes almost complete. Ordinary scenes take on an otherworldly quality, as if viewed through a warm, golden filter that reveals hidden beauty in everything it touches. Water bodies become mirrors of liquid gold, reflecting and multiplying the warm light. Mountain ranges appear to glow from within, their peaks catching and holding the light like natural beacons. Urban landscapes are transformed as well, with glass buildings becoming towers of reflected flame and busy streets, turning into rivers of golden light. The human face is particularly flattered by golden hour light. The warm tones minimize imperfections, while enhancing natural warmth and radiance. This is why portrait photographers treasure this time of day, and why so many important moments, weddings, graduations, family gatherings, are often scheduled to take advantage of this naturally flattering illumination. There's something in golden hour light that seems to reveal the best in people, both literally and metaphorically. As the golden hour progresses, we begin to sense that this magical time is temporary, precious precisely because it cannot last. The light continues to warm and the sun continues to descend, and we know that something even more spectacular is approaching. The golden hour is the overture to nature's grandest daily performance, the gentle introduction to the symphony of color and light that is about to unfold. As the sun sinks lower and the light grows even warmer, we prepare ourselves for one of the most beautiful and universally moving experiences in the natural world, the sunset itself. As the sun begins its final descent toward the horizon, something remarkable happens across our planet. In villages and cities, on mountaintops and beaches, in temples and homes, people pause in their daily activities to witness one of nature's most magnificent spectacles. The sunset has inspired ritual, ceremony, and contemplation in virtually every human culture throughout history, creating a tapestry of traditions that speaks to our shared humanity and our deep connection to the rhythms of light and darkness. The universality of sunset rituals tells us something profound about human nature. Despite our differences in language, religion, geography, and customs, we all share this daily experience of watching the sun disappear below the horizon. This shared moment has become a bridge between cultures, a common thread that weaves through the fabric of human experience. From the most ancient civilizations to modern urban societies, the sunset has been a time for reflection, gratitude, prayer, and connection with something greater than ourselves. In many indigenous cultures around the world, sunset is seen not just as the end of day, but as a sacred transition that requires acknowledgement and respect. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia have sunset ceremonies that connect them to the dream time, their spiritual understanding of creation and existence. As the sun sets, they believe the spirits of their ancestors become more present, and this is a time for storytelling, for passing down wisdom, and for connecting with the eternal truths that guide their lives. The Hindu tradition offers us one of the most beautiful and elaborate sunset rituals in the world. The evening prayer ceremony, known as sundials, is performed as the sun sets, marking the transition from day to night. This ritual involves facing the setting sun and offering prayers of gratitude for the day's blessings while preparing the spirit for the coming night. The ceremony includes specific mantras, meditative breathing, and symbolic gestures that connect the practitioner to the cosmic rhythm of light and darkness. In Japan, the appreciation of sunset has been elevated to an art form through the concept of mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of all things. Japanese culture finds profound beauty in the fleeting nature of the sunset, seeing in it a reflection of life itself, beautiful precisely because it is temporary. This philosophy has influenced everything from poetry to architecture, creating traditions that celebrate the transient beauty of each day's ending. The Islamic tradition includes the Maghrib prayer, which is timed to coincide with sunset and represents one of the 5 daily prayers that structure Muslim spiritual life. This prayer serves not only as worship, but as a daily reminder to pause and reflect as day transitions to night. The timing of this prayer varies with the seasons and location, creating a living connection between spiritual practice and the natural world that many modern people have lost. Native American cultures have developed rich traditions around sunset that often involve the entire community. Many tribes hold sunset ceremonies that include drumming, singing, and storytelling, creating a communal experience that strengthens social bonds while honoring the natural world. The Pueblo peoples of the American Southwest have elaborate sunset rituals that involve specific dances and songs designed to ensure the sun's return the following day, reflecting their deep understanding of humanity's dependence on solar energy. In ancient Greece, sunset was the time of Hesperus, the evening star, actually the planet Venus, and was associated with rest, reflection, and the drawing together of families. Greek poets wrote extensively about the beauty of sunset, and the culture developed symposiums, gatherings of intellectuals and artists that often began at sunset and continued into the night. These gatherings were times for philosophical discussion, artistic expression, and the kind of deep conversation that seems to flourish in the golden light of evening. The Celtic cultures of Europe developed sunset traditions that connected the end of day with the spiritual world. They believed that sunset was a time when the veil between the physical and spiritual realms became thinner, making it easier to commune with ancestors and divine forces. Many Celtic stone circles and monuments are aligned with sunset at specific times of the year, demonstrating the central role that solar observations played in their spiritual and practical lives. In contemporary Western culture, while formal, sunset rituals may be less common, the human need to mark this daily transition remains strong. Happy hour, the tradition of gathering for drinks and socializing as the workday ends, can be seen as a modern version of ancient sunset rituals. Similarly, the popularity of sunset viewing spots, sunset cruises, and sunset photography reflects our continued fascination with this daily spectacle. The Jewish tradition includes the beautiful ritual of Havdalah, which marks the end of Shabbat as the first 3 stars become visible after sunset on Saturday night. This ceremony involves lighting a special braided candle, blessing wine and sweet spices, and reciting prayers that acknowledge the transition from the sacred time of Shabbat to the ordinary time of the coming week. The ritual creates a bridge between the spiritual elevation of the Sabbath and the practical concerns of daily life. In Buddhist cultures, sunset meditation is a common practice that uses the visual beauty of the setting sun as a focus for contemplation and mindfulness. Many Buddhist temples are oriented to take advantage of sunset views, and monks often gather for evening prayers as the sun descends. The impermanence embodied in the sunset serves as a powerful teaching tool for understanding the Buddhist concept of impermanence that applies to all aspects of life. The Christian tradition has long associated sunset with evening prayers and reflection. The practice of Vespers, evening prayer services held as the sun sets, dates back to the early centuries of Christianity. These services often include the lighting of candles or lamps as natural light fades, symbolizing the light of faith illuminating the darkness. Many Christian monasteries still maintain this practice, creating a daily rhythm that connects spiritual life with natural cycles. In Mexico and other Latin American cultures, the tradition of the evening paseo involves families and communities gathering in town squares and along waterfronts to socialize as the sun sets. This practice recognizes sunset as a time for community connection, for slowing down from the busy pace of day, and for enjoying the simple pleasure of being together as light fades into darkness. The scientific understanding of what causes sunsets has not diminished their spiritual and emotional power. If anything, knowing about atmospheric scattering, the refraction of light, and the physics of color has added layers of wonder to this daily experience. Many modern sunset rituals incorporate both scientific appreciation and spiritual reflection, recognizing that understanding the mechanics of beauty does not reduce its impact on the human soul. Sunset rituals often involve music, and cultures around the world have developed songs, chants, and instrumental pieces specifically for this time of day. The Scottish tradition of playing bagpipes at sunset, the call to prayer that echoes across Islamic cities as the sun sets. The evening ragas of Indian classical musical recognize that sunset is a time when music and natural beauty combine to create transcendent experiences. Food traditions also cluster around sunset time. The Spanish tapas tradition, the Italian aperitivo, The Greek mez cultural involve gathering with others to share food and drink as day transitions to night. These practices recognize that sunset is naturally a social time, when the solitary work of day gives way to the communal pleasures of evening. Even in our modern, technology-driven world, sunset continues to draw people together. Social media is filled with sunset photos, sunset hashtags trend regularly, and sunset viewing remains one of the most popular free entertainment activities worldwide. This suggests that our need to mark and celebrate this daily transition is not diminished by urban living or digital technology. If anything, it may be enhanced by our disconnection from natural rhythms in other aspects of our lives. The psychological research on sunset rituals reveals that they serve important functions for human well-being. Taking time to observe and appreciate sunset has been shown to reduce stress, increased feelings of gratitude, and promote social bonding. The act of pausing to witness beauty, whether alone or with others, appears to fulfill a deep human need for meaning and connection that transcends cultural boundaries. As we observe these various sunset traditions from around the world, we see that while the specific practices may differ, the underlying human responses are remarkably similar. We all seem to recognize that sunset represents something significant: the end of day, the approach of rest, the beauty of transition, the reminder of our place in the cosmic order. These rituals serve as daily opportunities to step outside our individual concerns and connect with something larger. Whether we call it nature, the divine, community, or simply the profound beauty of existence itself. As the sun continues its descent and the colors in the sky begin to intensify, we prepare for the final act of this daily drama. The rituals and traditions surrounding sunset have prepared us, both individually and collectively, for what comes next. We have paused, reflected, and gathered together to witness one of nature's most spectacular displays. Now, as the light grows ever more magical and the colors begin to paint the sky in impossible hues, we turn our attention to the sunset itself and the profound ways it has shaped human consciousness throughout our history on this planet. As the sun finally touches the horizon and begins to slip below the edge of the world, we enter a time that has profoundly shaped human consciousness throughout our species' history. Twilight, that magical period between day and night when the sky becomes a canvas of impossible colors and the world exists in a state of gentle transformation, represents far more than just a transition between light and darkness. It is a time that has inspired our greatest artists, deepened our spiritual understanding, and revealed fundamental truths about the nature of beauty, impermanence, and our place in the cosmos. The word twilight itself comes from the Old English twi, meaning two, and light, referring to illumination, literally, the time of two lights, when both the fading light of day and the emerging light of night exist simultaneously. This linguistic origin hints at something profound about twilight's effect on human consciousness. It is a time of duality, of being suspended between states, of existing in a liminal space where ordinary rules don't quite apply. From a scientific perspective, twilight occurs in three distinct phases, each with its own character and each affecting human consciousness in different ways. Civil twilight begins when the sun is 6 degrees below the horizon, and during this time, enough light remains for most outdoor activities. This is when the sky often displays its most spectacular colors, as the atmosphere scatters the last rays of sunlight into brilliant reds, oranges, pinks, and purples that seem to glow from within. During civil twilight, our brains begin to shift from day mode to night mode, but slowly and gently. The hormone melatonin begins to increase, preparing our bodies for sleep, while the stress hormone cortisol starts to decline. This biological transition creates a natural state of relaxation and contemplation that many people report as feeling profoundly peaceful. It's as if our nervous systems are designed to slow down and become more receptive during this magical time as twilight deepens into nautical twilight. When the sun is between 6 and 12 degrees below the horizon, the sky takes on a different quality. The bright colors fade into deeper blues and purples, and the first stars begin to appear. This is the time when our pupils dilate significantly, and our eyes shift from photopic vision, daylight vision using cone cells, to scotopic vision, night vision using rod cells. This physiological change literally alters how we see the world, making us more sensitive to subtle variations in light and shadow. The final phase, astronomical twilight, occurs when the sun is between 12 and 18 degrees below the horizon. During this time, the sky appears almost completely dark to casual observation, though sensitive instruments can still detect traces of sunlight. For most people, this is when night has truly begun, yet the atmosphere still retains some of the day's energy. Our circadian rhythms continue their shift toward sleep mode, and many people report feeling most creative and introspective during these quiet moments before full darkness arrives. The colors of twilight have fascinated humans since we first developed the capacity for aesthetic appreciation. These colors are not arbitrary. They result from the complex physics of light interacting with our atmosphere. As sunlight travels through increasingly more atmosphere during twilight, shorter wavelengths are scattered away while longer wavelengths penetrate through. But the specific colors we see depend on atmospheric conditions, humidity, dust, pollution, and weather patterns all contribute to the twilight palette. What makes twilight colors so psychologically powerful is their rarity and intensity. The deep purples, vibrant oranges, and luminous pinks that paint the twilight sky simply don't occur in nature under other circumstances. Our brains evolved to notice and respond to unusual stimuli, are naturally drawn to these extraordinary displays. The beauty of twilight colors appears to trigger the same neural pathways that respond to other forms of natural beauty, releasing endorphins and creating feelings of awe and transcendence. Artists throughout history have struggled to capture the essence of twilight, not just because of the technical challenges of depicting such subtle and changing light, but because twilight represents something that transcends mere visual experience. The Impressionist painters of the 19th century made twilight a central theme of their work, understanding that this time of day revealed truths about light, color, and perception that couldn't be observed at any other time. Claude Monet's series of paintings depicting the same scenes at different times of day showed how dramatically twilight could transform familiar landscapes. His water lilies, haystacks, and cathedral facades became entirely different subjects when viewed in twilight's gentle light. These paintings revealed that our perception of reality is far more fluid and subjective than we might assume, and that beauty exists not just in objects themselves, but in the quality of light that illuminates them. Poetry has perhaps come closest to capturing the essence of twilight's effect on human consciousness. Poets from every culture and era have written about twilight, often describing it as a time when the ordinary world becomes extraordinary, when the boundary between reality and dream becomes permeable. The Romantic poets of the 18th and 19th centuries were particularly drawn to twilight, seeing in it a reflection of their own interest in emotion, intuition, and the sublime aspects of nature. The psychological effects of twilight extend far beyond aesthetic appreciation. Research has shown that people often experience heightened creativity during twilight hours, possibly because the gentle transition from day to night allows the mind to shift from focused, analytical thinking to more open, associative thinking. Many writers, artists, and musicians report that their best ideas come during twilight, when the practical concerns of day begin to fade, and the imagination is free to wander. Twilight also appears to enhance emotional sensitivity and social bonding. The soft light and peaceful atmosphere create conditions that encourage intimate conversation, emotional sharing, and romantic connection. This may be partly biological. The changing light triggers hormonal shifts that promote relaxation and social openness, but it also seems to be partly psychological, as twilight provides a natural break from the busyness of day that allows people to connect more deeply with each other. In many spiritual traditions, twilight is considered a particularly auspicious time for meditation, prayer, and contemplation. The Hindu concept of sandhya, the junction between day and night, recognizes twilight as a time when spiritual practice is especially powerful. Similarly, many Buddhist meditation traditions emphasize twilight as an ideal time for mindfulness practice, when the natural beauty of the changing light can serve as both inspiration and instruction in the principles of impermanence and interconnectedness. The phenomenon of twilight also reveals important truths about human psychology and our relationship with time. Unlike sunrise, which represents beginning and possibility, or midday, which represents full engagement and activity, twilight represents completion and reflection. It's a time for processing the day's experiences, for integrating new learning, for preparing mentally and emotionally for rest and renewal. Cultural attitudes toward twilight vary significantly around the world, reflecting different values and life philosophies. In some cultures, twilight is seen as a melancholy time, associated with endings and loss, but in others it's viewed as peaceful and restorative, a daily gift of beauty and tranquility. These different perspectives remind us that our response to natural phenomena is shaped not just by biology but by culture, personal experience, and learned associations. The modern world, with its artificial lighting and 24-hour schedules, has somewhat disconnected many people from the natural rhythm of twilight. Yet research suggests that this disconnection may come at a cost to our psychological and physical health. People who make time to observe and appreciate twilight report higher levels of life satisfaction, better sleep quality, and greater feelings of connection to nature and community. Twilight also serves as a daily reminder of our planet's place in the cosmos. As we watch the sun disappear below the horizon, we're witnessing the rotation of Earth on its axis, seeing direct evidence of our planet's movement through space. This cosmic perspective can be both humbling and inspiring, reminding us that we're part of something much larger than our individual lives and concerns. The silence that often accompanies twilight, the pause between the sounds of day and the sounds of night, creates space for reflection and introspection that many people find deeply restorative. In our noisy, busy world, these moments of quiet beauty become increasingly precious, offering opportunities for the kind of deep thinking and feeling that nourishes the human spirit. As twilight deepens and the first stars begin to appear, we're reminded that every ending contains the seed of a new beginning. The day that is ending will give way to night, rest, and eventual dawn. This daily cycle of light and darkness, of activity and rest, of ending and beginning, provides a natural structure for human life that connects us to rhythms far older than civilization, far deeper than culture, far more fundamental than the artificial constructs that often dominate our daily experience. Twilight, in all its beauty and mystery, serves as a daily invitation to pause, to reflect, to appreciate the extraordinary beauty that surrounds us every single day. It reminds us that we live on a planet of incredible beauty, that we're part of natural systems of profound elegance and complexity, and that taking time to witness and appreciate this beauty is not a luxury but a necessity for a fully human life. As the last light fades and we prepare for the deep rest of night, we carry with us the memory of another day's beautiful ending and the promise of tomorrow's new beginning. Thank you for staying with me through this peaceful journey into the story of daylight, how the sun shapes our time. May you carry the warmth of today's discoveries with you, and may each sunrise and sunset remind you of the magnificent relationship between light, time, and the human experience. Until we meet again in the gentle embrace of natural wonder, I wish you peaceful days filled with golden light and restful nights beneath starlit skies. As the last whispers of twilight fade away, we enter into the realm that has both fascinated and frightened humanity for millennia. Night falls like a gentle curtain, and with it comes a transformation so profound that it touches every aspect of our being. The absence of our guiding star doesn't simply mean darkness, it means a complete shift in the rhythm of life itself. Think about the moment when day surrenders to night in your own experience. There's something almost magical about that transition, isn't there? The air seems to change, becoming cooler and somehow more intimate. Sounds become more pronounced. The distant hum of traffic, the rustle of leaves, the gentle chirping of crickets beginning their evening symphony. Your body, too, begins to respond to this ancient signal, as if some internal switch has been gently pressed. This is the power of circadian biology at its most elegant. As darkness deepens, your pineal gland, that tiny pine cone-shaped structure deep within your brain, begins to produce melatonin. It's like a chemical lullaby, encouraging your body to slow down, to prepare for the restorative hours ahead. Your core body temperature begins to drop, your heart rate slows, and your mind starts to shift from the analytical thinking of daytime to the more intuitive, dreamlike processing that characterizes the night. But night has not always been the peaceful companion we know today. For our ancestors, darkness brought very real dangers. Without the protection of artificial light, night was when predators hunted, when the unknown crept closer, when survival depended on finding safe shelter and staying alert to threats. This evolutionary memory still lives within us, which is why many people feel a subtle increase in anxiety as darkness falls, why we're naturally drawn to gather around fires or bright lights when night comes. Yet, night also brought gifts that daylight could not provide. It was in the darkness that our ancestors first truly saw the stars, those distant suns that would eventually guide them across oceans and inspire the first questions about our place in the universe. Night was when stories were told, when communities gathered close, when the quiet hours allowed for reflection and dreaming that simply wasn't possible during the busy daylight hours. The quality of natural darkness is something many of us have never truly experienced. In our modern world, true night's the deep, velvety darkness that allows the Milky Way to stretch across the sky in all its glory has become increasingly rare. Light pollution now affects more than 80% of the world's population, creating what astronomers call sky glow that washes out the celestial display that once inspired every human culture. This loss of natural darkness represents more than just the inability to see stars. It's a disconnection from one of the most fundamental rhythms that shaped human evolution. Our bodies and minds are designed to experience the full cycle of light and dark. And when that cycle is disrupted, the effects ripple through every aspect of our health and well-being. Research has shown that exposure to artificial light at night doesn't just make it harder to fall asleep, actually suppresses the production of melatonin, that crucial hormone that does so much more than just make us drowsy. Melatonin is a powerful antioxidant. It helps regulate our immune system, and it plays a crucial role in cellular repair processes that happen primarily during sleep. When we disrupt its natural production with artificial light, we're interfering with some of our body's most fundamental maintenance processes. But the impact of losing natural darkness goes beyond individual health. Night has always been a time for different kinds of life to flourish. Nocturnal animals, from the tiniest moths to the largest owls, have evolved to take advantage of the unique opportunities that darkness provides. Many flowers bloom only at night, releasing their fragrances into the cool air to attract night-flying pollinators. The disruption of natural light cycles affects these creatures in ways we're only beginning to understand. Consider the simple firefly, those magical creatures that turn summer evenings into living fairy tales. Their bioluminescent signals, evolved over millions of years, are being overwhelmed by the constant glow of streetlights and buildings. Female fireflies can't see the male's courtship displays, disrupting reproduction cycles and contributing to the dramatic decline in firefly populations across the world. It's a small example of a much larger story about how our relationship with artificial light is changing the very fabric of the natural world. The story of artificial light is in many ways the story of human ambition and ingenuity. It began tens of thousands of years ago with the first controlled fires. Those flickering flames that extended the useful hours of the day and created the first human-made light sources. But it was really with the development of oil lamps, candles, and eventually gas lighting that humans began to seriously challenge the dominion of natural light cycles. Picture a typical evening in a pre-electric world. As darkness fell, families would gather around oil lamps or candles, their activities limited by the small pool of light these sources provided. Reading was difficult and eye-straining. Most work had to stop. People went to bed earlier and woke with the dawn, their lives intimately connected to the natural rhythm of day and night. Sleep patterns were different to many people, experienced what historians call first sleep and second sleep, with a period of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. Then came the electric revolution, and everything changed. Thomas Edison's practical incandescent light bulb, perfected in 1879, didn't just provide better illumination, it fundamentally altered human civilization. Suddenly, night could be pushed back at will. Factories could operate around the clock. Social activities could extend well into the evening. The very concept of prime time in entertainment emerged because artificial light made evening gatherings possible on a scale never before imagined. The transformation happened remarkably quickly. In just a few decades, electric lighting went from a curiosity to a necessity. Cities blazed with light, creating the first instances of significant light pollution. The phrase bright lights, big city emerged because urban areas became beacons visible from miles away, fundamentally different from the rural areas that still followed more natural light patterns. But the real revolution came with the development of different types of artificial light, each with its own impact on human physiology. The warm, yellow glow of early incandescent bulbs was relatively gentle on our circadian systems. But as technology advanced, we began to use cooler, bluer lights, first fluorescent tubes, then LED lights that more closely mimicked daylight but could be used at any hour. This is where the story becomes particularly fascinating from a biological perspective. You see, not all light affects our bodies the same way. Our circadian systems are most sensitive to blue light, the same wavelength that dominates the sky during midday. When we're exposed to this type of light in the evening, our brains interpret it as a signal that it's still daytime, suppressing melatonin production and keeping us in a more alert, daytime-like state. The introduction of computer screens, smartphones, and tablets has intensified this effect exponentially. These devices emit significant amounts of blue light, and we tend to use them right up until bedtimes, sometimes even in bed. It's like having a small piece of the midday sun glowing just inches from our faces as we try to wind down for sleep. The impact on our natural sleep-wake cycles has been profound and is still being fully understood by researchers. Yet artificial light has also brought tremendous benefits. It has enabled medical procedures that save lives, allowed for education and learning to continue after dark, and created opportunities for social connection and cultural activities that enrich human experience. Night shift workers, from doctors and nurses to security guards and factory workers, depend on artificial light to perform essential services that keep our society functioning round the clock. The challenge we face is not to abandon artificial light that would be neither practical nor desirable, but to use it more thoughtfully. This realization has led to fascinating developments in lighting technology. Researchers and engineers are now creating circadian lighting, systems that automatically adjust their color temperature throughout the day, providing energizing blue-rich light in the morning and warmer, redder light in the evening. Some cities are beginning to implement dark sky initiatives, reducing unnecessary outdoor lighting and using fixtures that direct light downward rather than allowing it to scatter into the night sky. These efforts are not just about stargazing. They're about recognizing that the natural cycle of light and dark is an essential part of the environment that supports all life on Earth. We live in an unprecedented time in human history. Never before have so many people been so disconnected from the natural rhythms of light and dark that guided our evolution for millions of years. The average person in a developed country spends over 90% of their time indoors, often under artificial lighting that bears little resemblance to the dynamic, ever-changing quality of natural sunlight. Think about your own typical day. You might wake up to an alarm clock rather than natural light. You will probably spend most of your working hours under fluorescent or LED lighting that remains constant throughout the day. You may commute in vehicles or underground transportation where you see little natural light. Then you come home to spend your evening under more artificial lighting, perhaps looking at screens that emit blue light well into the night. This is the modern human experience, and it's radically different from anything our species has known before. The health implications of this disconnection are becoming increasingly clear. Sleep disorders are at epidemic levels in developed countries. Seasonal affective disorder affects millions of people, particularly in northern latitudes where winter days are short and natural light is limited. Depression and anxiety rates are rising, and while the causes are complex, researchers are finding increasingly strong links between disrupted circadian rhythms and mental health challenges. But the impact goes beyond individual health. Our disconnection from natural light cycles is changing how we relate to time itself, without the gradual brightening of dawn to ease us into wakefulness. Many people rely on jarring alarm clocks that create a stress response first thing in the morning. Without the gentle dimming of dusk to signal the end of the day, we often struggle to wind down, our minds still racing from the constant stimulation of artificial environments. Children are particularly affected by these changes. Young people today spend unprecedented amounts of time indoors and in front of screens. Their developing circadian systems are being shaped by artificial rather than natural light patterns. Myopia rates are skyrocketing among children and adolescents, a trend that researchers link partly to reduced exposure to bright outdoor light during crucial developmental years. Yet awareness of these challenges is growing, and with it comes a movement toward reconnecting with natural light patterns. Some schools are beginning to incorporate more outdoor learning time and are installing lighting systems that change throughout the day to support students' natural rhythms. Workplaces are starting to recognize the importance of access to natural light and are designing offices with larger windows and skylights. The concept of light hygiene is emerging as people begin to understand that our relationship with light is as important to our health as our diet or exercise habits. This might involve getting bright light exposure in the morning, perhaps by taking a walk outside or eating breakfast near a sunny window. It might mean dimming artificial lights in the evening, using warmer colored bulbs, or wearing blue light blocking glasses when using electronic devices before bedtime. Technology is also beginning to work with rather than against our natural rhythms. Smartphones and computers now often have night mode settings that automatically reduce blue light emission in the evening. Wearable devices can track sleep patterns and light exposure, helping people understand how their daily light habits affect their rest and overall well-being. But perhaps the most important aspect of addressing these modern challenges is simply awareness. When we understand how profoundly light affects our bodies and minds, we can make more conscious choices about our daily routines. We can appreciate the morning sun not just as beautiful, but as essential for setting our circadian clocks. We can see evening darkness not as something to be banished completely, but as a natural signal that helps our bodies prepare for restorative sleep. The story of daylight and time cannot be complete without acknowledging the magnificent dance of seasons that shapes life on our planet. As Earth tilts on its axis during its yearly journey around the sun, different parts of our world experience dramatically different relationships with daylight. This cosmic choreography creates the seasonal rhythms that have influenced human culture, agriculture, migration patterns, and even our deepest spiritual beliefs for thousands of years. Imagine living in northern Scandinavia, where summer brings the phenomenon of the midnight sun weeks, when the sun never fully sets, creating an ethereal landscape bathed in continuous golden light. Then consider the polar night of winter, when the same region experiences weeks of darkness, broken only by the brief twilight of midday and the dancing aurora borealis, painting the sky in otherworldly colors. These extreme variations in daylight create fascinating adaptations in both the natural world and human societies. In the Arctic, people have developed cultural practices that help them maintain psychological well-being during the long, dark winters. Traditional foods, rich in vitamin D, become especially important when the sun's rays are too weak to trigger its production in the skin. Social gatherings and storytelling traditions help combat the isolation that continuous darkness might otherwise bring. But even in more temperate regions, seasonal changes in daylight have profound effects. The gradual shortening of days in autumn triggers not just the stunning transformation of leaves, but also behavioral changes in countless species. Birds begin their incredible migrations, some traveling thousands of miles, guided by the changing angle of sunlight. Bears and other mammals start to prepare for hibernation. Even trees begin to slow their growth and prepare for winter dormancy. Humans, too, are deeply affected by these seasonal rhythms. Though we often don't realize it, many people notice changes in their energy levels, mood, and sleep patterns as the seasons change. The phenomenon known as seasonal affective disorder is just the clinical extreme of something most of us experience to some degree. The way our spirits seem to lift with the longer days of spring and summer, and how we naturally crave more rest and comfort foods during the shorter days of winter. Different cultures around the world have developed beautiful ways of honoring these seasonal transitions. The spring equinox celebrations found in many traditions recognize the return of lengthening days as a symbol of renewal and rebirth. Harvest festivals in autumn celebrate not just the gathering of crops, but the completion of the growing cycle that began with the first warm rays of spring sunlight. The winter solstice, the longest night in the northern hemisphere, has been marked by celebrations of light in cultures across the globe. From the lighting of candles during Hanukkah to the Yule logs of European traditions, from the lantern festivals of Asia to the contemporary celebration of Christmas lights, humans have consistently responded to the deepest darkness by creating and celebrating light. These traditions aren't just cultural artifacts. They represent deep wisdom about how to live in harmony with the natural rhythms that govern our planet. By acknowledging and celebrating the changing patterns of light throughout the year, our ancestors maintained a connection to the larger cosmic cycles that shape life on Earth. Modern life, with its artificial lighting and climate-controlled environments, can make us feel disconnected from these seasonal rhythms. We might work in the same fluorescent-lit office, whether it's the summer solstice or the depths of winter. We can buy the same foods year-round in supermarkets, disconnected from the natural growing seasons that once determined what we ate and when. Yet there's growing recognition of the importance of reconnecting with seasonal rhythms for our physical and mental health. Some people are rediscovering the practice of eating seasonally, choosing foods that naturally ripen during different times of the year. Others are learning to adjust their activity levels with the seasons, embracing the higher energy of summer and the more introspective mood of winter. Light therapy, using specially designed lamps that mimic natural sunlight, has become an important treatment for seasonal depression. But even simple practices like taking a walk during the brightest part of a winter day, or spending time outdoors during the long evenings of summer, can help us stay connected to the natural rhythms that shaped our evolution. As we stand at the threshold of an increasingly technological future, the relationship between humans and light continues to evolve in fascinating ways. The story of daylight and time is far from over. In fact, we may be entering one of the most interesting chapters yet, as our growing understanding of circadian science meets advancing technology and a renewed appreciation for natural rhythms. Scientists are making remarkable discoveries about how light affects not just our sleep-wake cycles, but virtually every aspect of our physiology. They've found that our circadian clocks exist not just in our brains, but in nearly every cell of our bodies. Our liver has its own circadian rhythm that affects how we process nutrients. Our immune system follows daily cycles that influence when we're most susceptible to infections and when vaccines are most effective. Even our skin cells have internal clocks that help repair damage from UV radiation during the night hours. This deeper understanding is leading to exciting developments in what researchers call chronotherapy, treating diseases by working with rather than against our natural biological rhythms. Some cancer treatments are now being timed to coincide with the periods when they'll be most effective and cause the least side effects. Surgeons are discovering that some operations have better outcomes when performed at certain times of day. Architecture and urban planning are also evolving to better support human circadian health. New buildings are being designed with circadian lighting, systems that automatically adjust color temperature and brightness throughout the day. Some schools and offices now have windows that can be tinted to provide the optimal amount and type of light for different times of day and different activities. The concept of biophilic design, creating spaces that connect us with natural patterns and rhythms, is gaining popularity. This might involve skylights that track the sun's movement, walls that gradually change color throughout the day, or garden spaces that bring the changing seasons indoors. These innovations recognize that our well-being is intimately connected to our environments. Ability to mirror natural light patterns. Technology is also becoming more sophisticated in how it interacts with our circadian systems. Smart home systems can now coordinate all the lighting in a house to support healthy sleep-wake cycles. Wearable devices are becoming better at tracking not just how much sleep we get, but the quality of that sleep and how it relates to our light exposure throughout the day. Perhaps most intriguingly, virtual and augmented reality technologies are beginning to explore how artificial environments can support natural rhythms. Imagine VR experiences that could provide the psychological benefits of watching a sunrise or sunset, complete with the gradual color changes that help regulate our internal clocks, or AR applications that could overlay information about optimal light exposure onto our daily routines. Space exploration is also pushing our understanding of light and circadian rhythms in new directions. Astronauts on the International Space Station experience 16 sunrises and sunsets every 24 hours as they orbit Earth. NASA has developed specialized lighting systems to help maintain healthy sleep patterns in this challenging environment. The lessons learned from space travel are informing how we think about light and health here on Earth. But perhaps the most important development is a growing awareness among individuals and communities about the importance of natural light rhythms. Cities are implementing dark sky policies to reduce light pollution. Parks and nature preserves are being designated as places where people can experience true darkness and see the stars. Schools are teaching children about circadian rhythms and the importance of spending time outdoors. During daylight hours, there's also a movement toward slow living that emphasizes reconnecting with natural rhythms. This might involve watching sunrise or sunset as a daily practice, eating meals at times that support our circadian clocks, or simply spending more time outdoors throughout the day. These practices recognize that our relationship with light and time is not just about health, it's about feeling connected to the natural world and to the cosmic rhythms that govern all life on our planet. The future likely holds even more sophisticated ways of harmonizing artificial environments with natural rhythms. We might see buildings that breathe like living organisms, getting brighter and dimmer in sync with our internal clocks. Transportation systems might use circadian-friendly lighting to help travelers adjust to new time zones more easily. Workplaces might organize schedules around the times when people are naturally most alert and productive. As our journey through the story of daylight draws toward its close, we find ourselves with a deeper appreciation for something so fundamental that we often take it for granted. Light is not just illumination. It's a master conductor orchestrating the symphony of life on Earth. From the smallest bacterial cell responding to the first rays of dawn to the complex circadian rhythms that govern our deepest sleep, light touches every aspect of existence. The wisdom we've gathered from this exploration isn't just academic knowledge, it's practical guidance for living more harmoniously with the natural rhythms that shaped us. When we understand that our bodies are designed to wake gradually with increasing light rather than to jarring alarm clocks, we can begin to arrange our sleeping spaces to let in morning sunlight. When we recognize that blue light in the evening disrupts our natural preparation for sleep, we can make conscious choices about our evening activities and the lighting we use. But living in harmony with light goes beyond individual health practices. It's about recognizing our place in the larger web of life that depends on the reliable cycling of day and night. When we choose lighting that doesn't disturb nocturnal wildlife, when we appreciate the stars by reducing unnecessary artificial light, when we time our activities to work with rather than against our natural energy patterns, we're participating in something much larger than personal wellness. Consider how different your life might be if you structured it more consciously around light. You might begin each day by stepping outside to see the sky, letting your circadian clock synchronize with the sun's position. During your workday, you might take breaks to get natural light exposure, especially during the winter months when daylight is precious. Your evenings might become a time of gradual dimming, creating a gentle transition toward sleep that honors your body's ancient wisdom. This doesn't mean rejecting the benefits of artificial light or returning to a pre-existence. Instead, it means using technology more thoughtfully, choosing artificial light that supports rather than disrupts our natural rhythms. It means creating environments that remind us of our connection to the natural world, even when we must spend long hours indoors. The children growing up today will face even greater challenges in maintaining this connection to natural light rhythms. They're growing up in a world where screens are ubiquitous, where artificial light is constant, where the natural world can seem distant and irrelevant. Teaching them about the importance of daylight, helping them develop habits that support their circadian health, giving them opportunities to experience true darkness and see the stars, these become acts of profound care for their future well-being. Communities, too, can make choices that honor the relationship between light and health. Urban planners can design cities with more green spaces and natural light access. Schools can schedule outdoor activities and sports during daylight hours. Employers can recognize that workers need access to natural light and opportunities to align their schedules with their natural energy patterns. The story of daylight and time also reminds us of the importance of paying attention to subtlety. The quality of light is constantly changing throughout the day, from the soft pink of dawn through the energizing brightness of midday, to the golden warmth of afternoon, and finally to the deep blue of twilight. When we rush through our days without noticing these changes, we miss important cues that help our bodies and minds function optimally. Developing what we might call light awareness becomes a practice in mindfulness. It means noticing how different types of light affect your mood and energy. It means being curious about the way shadows move throughout your living space. It means appreciating the drama of weather, how clouds change the quality of daylight, how rain creates a different kind of luminous atmosphere, how snow transforms the winter landscape into something that seems to glow from within. This awareness can transform ordinary moments into sources of wonder and connection. A morning coffee becomes an opportunity to watch the light gradually strengthen outside your window. An evening walk becomes a chance to witness the daily miracle of sunset. Even artificial light can be appreciated more consciously than warm. The glow of candlelight during dinner, the focused beam of a reading lamp, the soft illumination that guides you safely through your home at night. Perhaps most importantly, the story of daylight reminds us that we are not separate from the natural world. Despite living in increasingly artificial environments, we carry within our very cells the memory of millions of years of evolution under the sun's light. Our bodies are still programmed to respond to dawn and dusk, to the changing seasons, to the eternal rhythm of day and night. When we honor this connection, when we structure our lives to work with rather than against these ancient patterns, we often find that many aspects of our well-being improve naturally. Sleep becomes more restful, energy levels more stable, moods more balanced. We feel more connected, not just to our own health, but to the larger rhythms of the planet we call home. Thank you for staying with me through this peaceful journey into the story of daylight, how the sun shapes our time. As you move forward from here, I hope you'll carry with you a new appreciation for the light that surrounds us every day. May you find moments to pause and notice the quality of the light around you. May you make choices that honor your body's ancient wisdom about rest and activity. And may you always remember that you are part of something much larger, living planet dancing around a star, creating the endless, beautiful cycle of day and night that makes all life possible. The next time you see the first light of dawn creeping across the horizon, or watch the sun set in a blaze of color, remember that you're witnessing one of the most fundamental forces that shaped not just human civilization, but all life on Earth. In that light, you'll find not just illumination, but connection to the natural world, to the cosmos, and to the deep rhythms that unite all living things under the sun. Take care of yourself, and take care of your relationship with light. In doing so, you're participating in one of the most ancient and essential partnerships in the history of life itself. Until we meet again in the gentle light of another day, I wish you peaceful mornings, energizing days, and restful nights filled with a kind of deep, natural sleep that only comes when we live in harmony with the rhythms of light and time.